The story begins with the fact that inside a huge and chic mansion, the girl ran to her brother. The sister ran into the hall abruptly and asked her brother displeasedly, did he really support the attack on the Mu family with his father? A girl named Jung Chi viciously asked the guy if there was an order to attack. She threatened him that now no one would cooperate with them. Jung Bei prepared to smoke a cigarette and poured red wine into a glass. He told his sister that people from the Mu family are worth nothing and they can kill them. He looked displeased at the guy. She got angry with the words that she heard from her brother. Bei strictly asked her sister, does she think about Mu Fencheni? He angrily answered her that he had killed this guy. He shouted to his brother, very irritated and displeased that he had killed the protagonist. Bei sat on the couch and released cigarette smoke. He said that the guy was illegitimate and worse, that he did not die. Bei decided that if the family has a head on the shoulders, then they will continue to cooperate with them. Brother sternly told her sister that she would marry a representative of the Van family. He felt very bashfully. She turned to the side and told her brother that she did not want to marry. Bai explained to the girl that she should have status in society. The main character woke up late at night in an abandoned area. The moon shone brightly from the sky. Mu opened his eyes and looked up. He was lying in a deep dent in the ground. The protagonist carefully examined his hand. He was surprised due to the fact that he got into a blue star, the last owner of which was also called Men Chenfen. The guy was originally a celestial. In less than 1,000 years, he reached the highest level of celestials. After that, he found a source of Tao and moved to the highest sphere of Taoism. Suddenly, 3 supreme celestials attacked the protagonist. They demanded from him to give the source of Tao. After the battle, only one piece of his soul survived. Mu sat on a hill near a bright night city. The blue star was a very low level of energy. In this situation, he could only recover to the 5th level of energy. The main character told himself that if he received his life from a new person, then he decided to take revenge on Mu and protect his whole family. When he does it, he will return to the Celestials. The protagonist walked along the street in the late evening. There were many people there and everything shone brightly. The guy walked down the street and heard a loud scream on the side. The girl proved to someone that she belongs to the family of Mu. The young girl stood. There were 3 large hooligans next to her. Mu told himself that there are few religious people in the Blue Star. Therefore, he often observed such paintings. Ji Yulin was very scared. The bully grabbed her hand and viciously told her that she was looking for her brother here. He, in an evil voice, told the stranger that she wants to find the master. The bully replied to her that Mister could not be called an illegitimate child. The guy held out his hand to the girl's clothes. He told her in an evil voice that she was hot and he wants to examine her body. Ji glanced displeasedly at the bully and angrily asked what he was doing. The stranger strictly answered the girl that he was doing what men like to do. Mu approached the hooligans and said that they attacked a girl with a whole group, and this is a terrible act. The bully viciously told the guy that the Zhen family is doing his business here and he must leave. Mu displeased the bandit with displeasure that the girl herself was looking for him in the middle of the night. She saw the main character and shouted in a joyful voice that she had finally found him. The displeased stranger shouted to his subordinate to throw Mu out of here. The stranger, with a club in his hand, stepped forward. He threatened the main character that he provoked those who did not need. The hooligans abruptly fell off the place and ran together to bring down the protagonist from their feet. Mu looked angrily and told the hooligans that they could not cope with the celestial. The protagonist suddenly swung and with all his might hit one of the hooligans with his foot. He flew off and crashed into the wall. Mu abruptly held out his hand forward and grabbed with her hand by the throat of one of the attackers. The main character sharply held the bandit by the throat. He viciously reminded the hooligans that they wanted to beat him. The stranger scaredly pointed a finger at the protagonist and called him an illegitimate son. The main character threw the bully forward and knocked them with the stranger from his feet. He viciously told the guy that he was from the Zhen family, but all this is empty words. Mu extended his hand to the girl and said that now everything is fine and she could calm down. He hugged the protagonist. She scaredly told him that she was afraid because the bully would begin to mock her. Mu put his hand to the girl on his head. He felt that she had a disposition to Tao's techniques. The guy stroked his new girlfriend on the head and said that she was now safe. They are now returning home. The protagonist remembered the man. He said in an important voice that his father was waiting for the return of the master. The main character pulled his new girlfriend by the hand and said that they are now going home. On the ground lay the bodies of hooligans. The beaten fighter grabbed the phone with his hand. He viciously shouted after the main character that he would now turn his life into hell. The guy called his acquaintance and complained that the main character beat him. The owner, with a pumped-up figure, angrily asked his friend, where was he beaten and where is the main character? The partner told him a detailed address. The boss got angry. He cleared the phone with his own hands in displeasure and called his subordinates useless fools. Suddenly, the guy felt some severe pain on the side. He turned around displeasedly. The owner saw a girl lying on the floor next to him. He hit her with his foot and demanded that she fail as soon as possible. The owner viciously called his subordinates and demanded that they gather all people and send to Tienerhof. The main character, accompanied by his companion, arrived at her home in a large building. Kai extended her hand to the door and prepared to open it. Inside, her mother was waiting. A sick woman was lying on the bed. The daughter shouted to her joyfully that she came not alone. The hostess looked at the guy and said that she was brewing her tea. Mu answered the woman that he had met a girl on the street and immediately brought her home. The hostess glanced joyfully at the guy and said that he was very kind. 2 cars drove up to the building. A whole group of bandits with weapons ran out of them. The boss with a cigarette shouted to his subordinates to run forward as soon as possible. The main character was sitting on a chair. The girl poured water into a glass from a teapot. The bandit ran up with the fighters and knocked out the door with all his might. The boss ran with his subordinates. He was surprised that the main character was inside. Mu held his girlfriend with his hand. He told boss to get out of here as soon as possible. The main character stood in a room on the carpet with his new girlfriend. Hooligans looked at them displeasedly. The boss went to the guy and viciously asked what he had just said about. The main character turned around and told the girl that it became very noisy around. He asked her to go inside and stay with her mother, and did not go out. Chi scaredly wished the guy to be careful. The girl took her hand out the door and prepared to go inside the room. Me, in an evil voice, told the bandit that he had already given him a chance. The angry boss pointed his hand to the protagonist and demanded that the fighters kill him. The main character did not spend much time. He beat all the attackers with powerful blows. The beaten boss handed the guy a glass of tea. Around the bodies of his fighters were lying. Mai took the glass in his hand. He told the bandit to sit down. The boss fell to his knees and thanked the guy. The main character neatly drank tea from a glass and asked the bandit how he sees the outcome of all this. The beaten boss handed the guy a cigarette with a lighter. He scaredly offered him 300,000 compensation. The main character on the couch looked strictly at the fighter and told him to pay 2 million. Mu viciously reminded boss that he intimidated him. He suggested that his fighters return home for money. The boss began to beat his subordinates and demand that they get up. The boss on his knees told the main character that he would bring money to him now. Mu displeased the bandit with displeasure that he still did not like him. He demanded that the boss massage his neck behind him. Mu closed his eyes. The bandit in the back joyfully made the guy a massage on his back and asked if he was pressing much. The main character looked at the message on his phone. He saw that he had been transferred 2 million. Mu, sitting on the couch, viciously told the bandita to leave. He threatened that next time he would demand more. The boss dutifully answered the guy that he would not be the next time. Boss Jen returned to his home. The fighters met him and greeted him. The beaten boss angrily asked the subordinate from what time the guy became so strong. The fighter asked Jenya, "Is it still necessary to call people?" Jen angrily hit the fighter's hand over his face. He sternly told him that he had not before so humiliated before and threatened his subordinates that he would punish them. In the late evening, the girl was at home in the high-end mansion. Light glowed in the windows. The girl wiped her head with a towel. She told the servant that Bei left in the middle of the night and returned in a beaten form. The man answered the hostess that the young master had come into conflict and brought 2 million losses. Now his father is reporting him. The girl asked the servant, "Where did Wu Xiaofan go now?" To herself, the hostess decided that she needed to have a good relationship with Wu. It will be useful for their family. The man bowed and told the hostess that Wu would arrive in Yuzhou in 8 hours. 3 days later, she will return to Yanbei. The hostess sat down near the mirror and looked at herself cunningly. She said to the telephone phone that she would arrange an accidental meeting. The main character was in the house of his new girlfriend. It was late evening. He lay on the bed. The main character prepared to leave. He promised her that no one would bother her again. Kia raised over the pillow. She told the main character that she was scared and she was afraid to sleep. Mu put his hand on his girlfriend's head. He promised her that he would leave only after she fell asleep. Chi was delighted and asked a friend so that he would not deceive her. Mu held his girlfriend by the hand. Oi promised her with a smile that he would not lie to her. The guy looked through the open window outside. He did not expect so many events on the first day. He decided to take a walk around the city and find something to restore his strength. A bright sunny day on the city street was walking a few passers-by. A girl with long blue hair walked and ate food from a stick. A girl named Wu was the eldest daughter of the family, Mo. She handed the man food and offered to try. Chen refused food and answered the girl that he was ready to protect her. Wu said in a dissatisfied voice to her companion that she was very bored of having fun alone. The girl saw some performance aside. Two women stood near the rostrum. There were spectators around. The woman with a microphone looked aside and noticed how someone began to approach them. The stranger gave the microphone to her assistant. She headed to the side to the stairs. The presenter in a suit went to the girl and held out her hand to her. She said in a joyful voice that she did not expect to meet young Madame Wu. Wu bit away a little of her food and asked the woman who she was. The woman struck the girl with a smile and reminded that they met Yanba 3 years ago. The presenter suggested Wu to walk to Yadong. The girl answered joyfully to her partner that she agreed to take a walk. She wanted a local resident to be a guide, and that Uncle Chen to go with them. At this time, the main character walked around the market between the rows. His girlfriend walked next to him. Mu held a jar with a drink in his hands. He saw a lot of interesting antiques on the tables. The protagonist noticed an interesting green jade pendant. There was a lot of energy in this artifact. The guy went to the old man and asked if he was selling that pendant. He took the jewelry in his hands. The seller answered the client that the pendant is very ancient and costs 5 million. Mu looked at the seller very cunningly and offered him 500,000 for the pendant. The old man agreed. The protagonist, with the help of the phone, made payment for the seller. Wu looked at the pendant and could not understand how much he was standing. Mu showed the girl a decoration in his hands and explained that this pendant was already sold. The woman looked closely at the protagonist. She remembered that he should be dead for a long time. The woman went to the guy and wanted to buy a pendant for 50,000 from him. Mu agreed. The woman carefully looked at the back of the outgoing guy. She noticed that he seemed to have changed. Wu strictly told the man that she was unhappy. Chen promised his mistress to correct everything for her. The man suddenly appeared in front of the main character in the way and stopped him. Mu looked at the man with displeasure. He asked, did he really want to pick up a pendant from him? Chen invited the guy to buy a stone from him for 500,000. Around stood surprised passers-by. Mai took his girlfriend and pulled her aside. He explained to the man that his stone was not sold. The man blocked the way to the guy and said that he would not go anywhere further. The main character turned around and told her girlfriend to go home. He wanted to catch up with her later. Chi scaredly answered a friend that she was worried about him. The man stood in a combat pose and fire appeared around him. The protagonist told the warrior in a displeased voice that he did not want to retreat just like that. Chen prepared to attack. He accelerated sharply and rushed forward at the protagonist. Passers-by in surprise looked at the protagonist and man. Someone shouted that the guy would receive now. Suddenly, the man stopped at full speed. The main character held out his hand forward to him. Mu stopped his fingers straight near the throat of the fighter. Chen stopped in time. The main character held a hand in front of him. He viciously explained to the opponent that he was not going to offend people. Chen asked his partner, who is he? Wu knew that her guard was a great master. She could not understand how the guy stopped the man. The woman explained to the girl that in front of them is an illegitimate son of the Mu family. Wu smiled cunningly to herself. She said in an exciting voice that she was interested in an illegitimate son. The man was scared. He told the main character that he might not give him a jade pendant. Around stood surprised passers-by. The main character heard the phone rang. He took out the device. It was his girlfriend. The girl scaredly told a friend on the phone that she was forcibly taken to the Mu family. The main character listened to her calmly. The guy turned and decided to go and help the girl. Chen stood behind and told his biography to the main character. He asked Mu, where did he study? Above the main character appeared the outline of death with a scythe. He turned around and viciously told the man that he had no time for him. Chen was very scared when he saw the protagonist. He felt that goosebumps ran across his body. The girl told her guard that he could leave. She found something interesting for herself. Wu in her car stopped near the protagonist. She wanted to let him down. Mu sat in a car on a chair. He asked the girl, why does she help him? Wu answered the guy that he was very strong and she likes. Chen sat behind the wheel and drove a car. The woman stood and looked after the leaving car. She viciously shouted to the main character that he brings her trouble. The stranger grabbed the phone in her hands and demanded that the car to the house of Mu be called here. The woman was sitting in the chair of the car. She threatened the main character that she would take revenge on him when Mrs. Wu would return to Yanbei. Wu touched the main character with a finger and said that he had a strong body. She asked the secret of his training. Mu put his hand in displeasure. The girl in a cunning voice told the partner that he did not like this. The car drove up to the luxurious building. It was the residence of MU. The guards near the entrance in costumes displeasedly told the guy that they would not let him into the house. Mu sharply swung his foot. He demolished the guards as a powerful blow to the side. Mughal towards the house, the girl told the guard that the guy was fighting better than him. Chen answered the partner that Mup is much younger than himself. Ji kneel in the center of the house. The guy asked her displeased if she knew what was going on in her family. He accused her of insulting Bei. The girl was on her knees. She explained to the owner that the young master was wrong. The stranger grabbed the girl with his hand by the hair from behind. He shouted menacingly to her that there was only one young gentleman in the house. The main character went through the door to the room. The owner grabbed the girl with his hand and shouted that he would kill her. Mu viciously told the kidnapper that the girl belongs to him and he cannot touch her. Mu stood and viciously looked at the owner of the house. The girl was delighted and called the protagonist. The kidnapper hit the girl with all his strength on the face. He shouted that he could be anyone in the MU family. The main character abruptly broke. He ran forward to demolish the kidnapper. After a very powerful acceleration with his hand, the owner hit the owner and he flew to the side. A girl on his knees was standing next to him. The beaten guy crashed after the flight and groaned in pain. His hand was broken. Mu came up and viciously explained to the owner that he gave a slap in the face of the girl, and he broke his hand in response. It was all fair. The woman in a pink dress strictly pointed to the guy with her hand and shouted that he was not a member of the MU family. One of the people in the house shouted to the man to beat the main character. The owner of the house appeared on the side. He went down the stairs. He was unhappy that people in the hall had a noise. Mu extended his hand to his girlfriend to help her get to her feet. The head of the Mu family was dressed in a combat suit. He shouted displeasedly to people opposite him that he was still not dead. Mu hugged his girlfriend. He looked displeased at the man and said that he would not fight him. At this time, the doctor came up and assisted the guy near the wall. The doctor approached and told the man that the younger brother received several fractures. This will affect his health? The guy near the wall with all his strength shouted to his grandfather to beat the main character. The guy angrily thought that his grandfather master of martial arts would beat Mura Chenfin. The owner looked strictly at the protagonist and demanded that he be on his knees in front of him. Mu looked at the man with a smile and asked if he himself should stand in front of him on his knees. The owner stood in the combat rack. He told the guy that he had forgotten who was the main in the MU family. At this time, Chen entered the hall with the girl. He, in a calm voice, asked his grandfather so that he would not start a fight. The owner asked the guest displeasedly, "Who is this?" Chen told the man that he came from the Yanbei family. The man looked carefully at the young guest. He did not understand what kind of girl it was. Wu showed her hand to the protagonist and told her partners that she wants to tell them the words in his excuse. People in the room revived. One of the guys told the girl that she could tell them anything. The guy looked with interest at the girl. He wanted to achieve Wu's hand to become the head of the family. Wu pointed her hand to the protagonist and said that he deserves death, as he beat the future head of the family. The guy on the side joyfully confirmed that he deserves death. The girl turned and cunningly glanced at the protagonist. She said that it would be very inhuman to kill him. She offered to expel the guy from the Mu family. The owner viciously demanded from the protagonist to kneel before him and obeyed him. He explained that the guy would no longer have anything to do with his family. Mu looked at the man with displeasure and explained that he could not order him anything. The owner stood in the combat rack. He viciously told the chief hero that they are now looking where his antics were leading. Chen calmly explained to the man not to attack the protagonist if he wants to stay alive. The guy looked at the guest in surprise from the side. He did not understand what he was doing. The man held out his hand in surprise and said that this was impossible. Wu laughed out loudly. She told the main character that he had just been kicked out of Mu's family. 25. Wu extended her hand to the guy and invited him to join the Wu family. The girl explained to the guy that their family is much smarter than the MU family. 26. The woman on the side carefully followed everything that was happening. She was very surprised. The man came up behind and told the girl that all this is wrong. He asked her, "In what relationship is she with the family of MU?" Wu answered the owner, displeased that her relationship was not his business. The girl told the guy that if he agrees, he would receive everything he wants. The main character answered his partner that he was not interested. The owner went to the guy and with a smile explained to him that now there was a common misunderstanding between them. He apologized to him from his family. Mu looked at the man and said in a strict voice that he could not close his eyes to everything that happened today. He did not want someone to intervene in his affairs. The owner with a smile and answered the guy that he agreed to everything. The owner held out his hand to the main character. He told him proudly that the guy from this day will be the head of the Mu family. Mu looked at his partners and explained that he wants to abandon their offer. Wu unexpectedly approached the side of the surprised main character and kissed him. The girl with a smile told the guy that they could communicate with him more often. Mu with a displeased voice explained to his partner that they could talk later. Wu headed aside. She told her guard that they would wait at the entrance. The woman asked the girl with interest what she missed. Wu in a cheerful voice answered the partner that she was also a blind Dura. Wu, accompanied by their guard, headed for the exit. The main character stood in the center of the hall and looked at the owner of the house. The man joyfully said that the protagonist would not offend Mrs. Wu. They should not interfere in the affairs of this couple. On the side came the guy with glasses and in a suit. He said that if Mu marries a girl, then the status of the family will fly up to heaven. The girl slyly said that she always liked Mu Chenfen. The main character angrily asked the man, why does he decide everything for him? The owner smiled slyly and said that he was doing all this for his good. Mu turned around and answered the owner that he did not need anything from him. The main character hugged a girlfriend from the side. He told people in the house that they would be very bad if they intervened in his affairs. Mu passed with his girlfriend past a woman. She thought that if the guy meets closer to Wu, then this would go for the benefit of the Gen family. The stranger turned sharply and shouted to the main character that they needed to talk. Mu, without turning around, shouted to the woman that he was not interested in communicating with her. Junki was very surprised. She hoped that the main character would have asked her to meet. He dreamily imagined how the main character would come by car and invite her to the cinema. Ji on the side with a thoughtful voice reminded the main character that he used to like this woman. The main character extended his hand and put his hand on the girl's head. He said that he would not have any business with Ki because he does not know what to expect from her. The girlfriend turned and displeasedly told the guy that she did not understand anything. Mu, with a smile, answered that all this does not matter. Vu came up from the side. She told the guy in a cunning voice that they need to discuss what will happen between them. He turned to the side. She told the main character that the girl is very good. Mu looked around and looked at Wu. He said that she was very beautiful. Mu abruptly tore his hand from the girl and said that they needed to remain best friends. Wu displeased the guy that he was very cold to her. The girl slyly looked at the guy and said that she really likes how he treats her. Mu told the girl that she is the only Wu family and she should have enough guys in her life. Wu came up on the side and began to persistently pester the guy. She asked him to give her a phone. The girl came up and began her phone to photograph the phone of the protagonist. She added him to contacts. Wu approached the exit with the guard. She said goodbye to the main character so that he called her at any time. At this time, a woman ran up behind and asked the protagonist to stop. Mu turned to the side. He shouted to his girlfriend to wait for him near the entrance. The guy ran out into the street. He looked angrily after the main character. Mu calmly walked next to the woman. The guy walked towards the gate. He viciously told himself that Mu did not understand that he was waiting if he had begun to meet with the young Madame Wu. After that, the young owner ran to the side of the girl and asked her to wait. Wu turned around and asked him with displeasure, what happened? The young owner with a smile offered the girl to stay for a couple of days on their family villa. The guy bowed to the surprised girl and invited her to meet. Wu looked at the young owner with a displeased look and called him an idiot. The guy with excitement explained to the girl that Mu was an illegitimate son from the family. Wu cunningly looked at the guy on the side and asked, did he really think that he is worthy of her? The young owner joyfully shouted to the girl that he worthy of her. Wu went to the car. She asked the guard to break the second shoulder to the head hero. Zhen answered the lady that he would do everything. The guy was scared. He knelt down and held out his hand to the man. As a result, Zhen broke his second shoulder. The young master shouted loudly, the young gentleman scaredly lying on his knees in the square in front of the estate. His relatives approached behind. The guy thoughtfully thought that the protagonist deprived him of everything and wanted to bake Mu in revenge. Wu from the car asked the guy with displeasure, how did he dare to offer her like that? Jen stood near the door of the car. He said in a thoughtful voice that the family of Mu are complete idiots. Wu called from her rear chair on the phone and told her father that this year she would not return to Yanbei. She found a son-in-law for her father in Yuzhou. She sat on a chair near the table. She told the main character in a dissatisfied voice that he was no longer the same as before. Mu turned around and explained to his partner with a reasonable voice that if you live in the past, it means not to live at all. He jumped to her feet. She asked the guy with displeasure, "What did he talk about?" Mu held the phone in his hand. He answered the woman displeasedly that she does not understand what he has in mind. The main character saw a photo of a girl in the phone. She took a picture next to him and wrote that she had met a guy in Yuzhou. The woman from behind displeasedly reminded the guy that he had previously swore to her love, but now he decided to ignore it. Mu turned around and told the woman that he had changed a lot. They have nothing more to say to each other, and he is now leaving. He ran behind the guy. She told him with excitement that she needed help and needs to get closer to the girl Wu. The woman looked at the guy and realized that he was now not at all what he was before. Mu asked a woman, would she really ask him for help? He told the main character that he should help her meet Ms. Wu in gratitude. She was ready to go with the main character to travel. The woman looked slyly at the guy and thought that he could not resist her. Mu went to the side. He explained to his partner that all this is not interesting for him. The woman asked the guy with displeasure, what did he tell her this? Mu stopped and raised his finger up. He told the woman that he could arrange a meeting with Wu for 10 million. The woman was very angry. She demanded that the guy not bend the stick. The main character on the street explained to the woman that if she did not agree, he would not lose anything. But for 10 million, she will get the opportunity to make friends with the VU family. The woman displeasedly told the guy that he wants 10 million from her. He himself does not even invite her to a restaurant. Mu answered the partner that she was deaf or stupid. He went aside. She was angry with the guy that she would be transferred to him for half an hour and waits for the result until the evening. Mi slyly thanked his partner for 10 million. The woman raced at full speed in a large white car along the street. He held the phone in her hand. She viciously said that the main character would not dare to deceive her. He went into the office of her father. She angrily asked the man, why did her brother only fall into different problems and is still on the post of deputy head of the family? The owner prepared to smoke a cigar. He explained to the girl that if she gets married, he would no longer be part of the Gen family. The woman shouted displeasedly to her father that she could not get a single good word from him. The owner looked displeased at his partner and viciously shouted to get out. He headed to the side. She promised her father that he would still regret his decision. The woman sat in a car and looked out the window. She decided to do everything possible to become closer to the Wu family and get support from them. Wu leaned out of the car's cab and waved to the main character so that he would go to her. Mu came up and looked at the girls. He asked why they hadn't left yet. Wu answered the guy that they were waiting for him here. She invited him to sit down and go to the city. The white car abruptly broke and drove forward. Inside was the main character with girlfriends. Wu in the back seat turned to the guy and asked what he still thinks of them. Mu raised his hand and explained to his partner that he was just a random passersby. Wu laughed slyly. She told the guy that if she did not know him so well, she would have thought that he was rude. Mu noticed that he had received a message on the phone. The guy noticed messages on the phone. The user transferred 10 million to him. Was sat on the rear chair of the car. She thoughtfully told the guy that she really wanted to meet her. Wu turned around and told the main character that if there are no men in some family, then the inheritance is transmitted to the woman in order. Mu told his partner that the old traditions are a tumor in their society. People who blind power and inheritance fall into a hole from which they cannot get out. Wu extended her hands and hugged the protagonist. She realized that he remembered his own experience. The companion hugged the guy and cheerfully told him that she wanted to marry him. It will help rise to the WU family. Mu held out his hand to the girl and told her in a thoughtful voice that the Wu family could not put such responsibility on him. The girl cheerfully told the guy that if someone doubts him, he would immediately regret his decision. Wu cunningly looked at the guy and reminded him that she was a member of the Chen family. Mi looked aside. He told the girl that her brother had a very good character. He directly loves him. The main character looked at the companion and explained to her that he had already received money. Therefore, he expects consent from her. Wu extended her hand to the guy and said that he had a very strong body. She agreed to have lunch tomorrow with Qi. Mu looked at the girl with displeasure and said that his body was his skill. The main character held the phone in his hand. He wrote to his partner that she would meet Wu tomorrow. The companion stroked the guy with his hand on the head and said that he could help her carry her bags during shopping. The main character slyly told the companion that the power of his body is not for this. Wu laughed out loud. The car rushed along the road. The young owner with bandaged hands grabbed the telephone. He viciously said that the protagonist decided to pick up everything from him. The guy threw a business card with a phone on the floor. He viciously said that Faison could deal with the main character. Xiao was the head of the club Faison Joy. He lay in an armchair and dreamily told himself that he would like to organize a meeting with Xiaopin when she would come to the city. Xiao realistic dreamed how he met a girl in a white suit. He imagined how Wu would joyfully agree to marry him. Xiao joyfully looked up and dreamily thought about the girl. He went into a subordinate with glasses. He carried an envelope in his hands. The girl Wu was on the villa of the Mu family with some guy. The subordinate laid the envelope on the table. He told boss at the table that the main character, along with his girlfriend, is now at a shopping center. Xiao got angry. He considered that some stranger dared to touch his girlfriend. The subordinate told boss that someone sent a request for 10 million beyond the head of the protagonist. Xiao became interested in who it could be. The fighter straightened his glasses and explained to the boss that the request for the murder of the protagonist sent Mu Lei. Xiao headed for the exit. He asked his subordinate to convey that Fenson Hui was in business. Xiao looked angrily in front of him and said in a strict voice that they would need more money. In the middle of the street, Wu slyly looked at the guy and said that she wanted to treat him with milk. Mu was walking behind her along with bags. The main character raised bags in his hands and sternly asked her girlfriend if she saw what she had bought. The companion laughed slyly and answered the guy that she did not see. Mu turned to the side and out of the corner of his eye he noticed how someone watched him with a girl. The main character extended his hand and grabbed her companion. He wanted to take her aside. Wu was surprised to ask the guy, "What is it?" Mu told the companion that he could not explain anything to her and you just need to go. The mercenary in dark glasses said rather in a voice to herself that the guy was very careful. The stranger looked after her goals and asked with interest to herself, would they be able to escape from her? The main character, along with his companion, fled along the street. He pulled her by the hand. Wu tiredly wiped the sweat from the pillar. She told the main character that they would need to quickly lag behind the pursuers. The main character saw a mercenary in front of him in an alley. He told his companion that they would not be able to just run away. The stranger told the girl that she should go home herself. She was only interested in the main character. Wu realized that Faison Jua was standing in front of her. She angrily asked the mercenary, who allowed her to encroach on her friend. The mercenary smiled slyly and said that someone had paid her for the protagonist's head. The girl viciously warned the mercenary that the Wu family would not spare her back. A fighter of Xiao came up from the side. He asked the girl in evil voice, "Are her nerves standing the main character?" Wu said the fighter in a displeased voice that they saw him only once at his grandfather's birthday. The main character turned around and prepared to go aside. He told the girl to follow him. Wu displeased the guy with her foot and sternly said that she wanted to help him. Xiao asked the girl with a sad voice, "Why does she love the main character so much?" Muan explained to him that in this world there is no such person who could kill him. Xiao abruptly broke and rushed forward at the guy. He decided to check how well he was. The protagonist slowly set the bandwagon and the fighter fell on the ground on a complete scale. Mu stood and told the lying fighter that he himself was not particularly patient for all this. Xiao jumped to his feet. He said in an evil voice for the protagonist that he would die. Zhen came up from the side. He told the student in a strict voice, "What if he will dissolve his hands? Then the teacher will be angry again." On the estate of Lungshuan, several masters sat and talked among themselves in the gazebo. A fighter in a yellow robe sat at a table. He said that he had heard from Chani Xiaozi that a young master appeared in the city. The guest held a cup in his hands. He answered the owner that the last time the teacher demolished himself with a meteor. The owner held the cup in front of him. He said that his ancestors gave him a huge amount of knowledge. Therefore, an unknown fighter may not even try to enter into battle with them. The partner explained to the owner that the teacher did not want to be worried about unnecessary occasion. He called Xiaozi with himself, and therefore no problem should arise. The owner said in a proud voice that he is a master and became much stronger than a mentor. The guest cunningly said that his personal student reached the 8th level in the circle of celestials. He will be able to soon become a born cultivator of qi energy. The owner took out the phone. He viciously shouted to his partner that he would lose if he fights him alone. The fighter took the phone in his hand. He answered the teacher that this time the student was not going to dissolve the snot. The old masters sat in the gazebo and talked in irritably. There was a fiery aura around them. The young guy asked the man, "Why is such a strong aura around the master and mentor?" The man explained to his partner that a couple of days ago the master played and could not defeat the mentor in a duel. The guard stood next to his mistress and said that they needed to leave. Wu pointed her hand to the protagonist and asked the man what would happen to him. Chen looked at the girl and answered her that the master and mentor were already in the know. Xiao pointed a finger at the protagonist and told the man that the master and mentor would not worry about such a person. At this time, the fighter rang the phone. He picked up the phone and noticed that the mentor called him. The fighter greeted the mentor on the phone. The main character stood behind and listened carefully. Xiao was very surprised. He asked the mentor on the phone, was he really rustling? After a short conversation, Xiao dutifully answered the mentor on the phone that he understood everything. The frightened Xiao went to the guy and promised that he would pay compensation in a part for him. The main character demanded from the fighter to immediately give him the one who hired him. The fighter glanced angrily at the protagonist and said that Face and Joy never issues his customers. The main character abruptly ran to the fighter and grabbed his throat with his hand with all his strength. Mu held on his opponent by the throat and told him in evil voice that he was given his last chance. Xiao in a frightened voice explained to the main character that his brother from Mu ordered him. Mu headed aside. He threw a coin to a fighter and said that he bought this information for a penny. The main character went to the luxurious villa of the Mu family. He decided to see the owner. Mu opened the door and went into the office. The man stood in surprise near the table. The main character sat at the table and threw his legs from above. He told the owner that Mu Leo wanted to kill him and demanded excuses. The owner angrily hit his hands on the table and demanded that the servants throw the guy out of here. Mu looked at the man and asked what he divorced here for the circus. The main character was sitting in an armchair and holding his legs on the table. The owner viciously said that he would not be worried. He promised to justify himself later. Lei lay on the couch with a glass of wine. He told himself a joyful voice that the main character would die. For him, it is normal to spend family money, as this is not his money. The door opened and the servant ran. He scared shouted to boss that the main character was already at the gate. Lei was very scared when he heard such news from the servant. He dropped a glass of wine to the floor. The young gentleman jumped up on his feet. He shouted that the girl Fenson has the best mercenaries. Two fighters entered the room. They headed for the young master. Lei scaredly said that grandfather invited them to him. The fighters grabbed the guy's arms. The young master screamed them to let him go. The girl opened the table of the table with the drugs. The head of their family went to Yanbei, and now everyone was trying to build intrigues to each other. The girl poured a medical drug into a large bottle. She was unhappy due to the fact that she humiliated her son. The hostess took a bottle with her and headed for the exit. She really wanted to know who did all this. Lei was kneeling in front of the owner. The man strictly asked the guy, was he really hired people from Fenson Hui? The man strictly asked the guy how much he paid for the order. Lei told the owner that they first asked for 10 million for the order, and then they asked to add the same amount. The owner strictly asked the guy, where did he get so much money? The young master explained that he took money from the family budget. The man hit the guy with his hand with all his might. He was very unhappy. Lei looked at the owner displeasedly and viciously asked why this guy is important for him. The owner laughed angrily. He was unhappy that in front of him was such a representative of the MU family. The man viciously told the guy that he could kill him, and someone else will become the head of the family. The door opened and a woman ran in the room. She asked displeasedly, who dared to touch her son? The man turned around and told the hostess that she should ask what her son had done. The woman grabbed the guy and said that this is her son. She doesn't care what he did. She threatened the man that the head of the family would return soon. The owner raised his hand and fire appeared above her. He told the woman that he would not be afraid of all this. The hostess grabbed a bottle and opened a cork. She threatened the man that she would drink the contents of the bottle if he does not call her a name. The man viciously pointed a finger at a woman and strictly asked what she was doing. The main character on the side looked after everything that was happening. He knew that there was a carbonated drink in the bottle. The hostess took the bottle and began to pour its contents inside the young guy. She viciously told the man that he would now recognize the bitterness of the loss of a family member. The owner turned to the side and shouted to the guards to call a doctor here as soon as possible. The main character came from the side. He told his partners a boring voice that it was very difficult with them. Mu came up and grabbed the young master by the clothes. Leo said with excitement that he sees his brother in front of him. The main character grabbed the guy by the clothes and led him. He said that he did not want something bad to happen to him. Mai grabbed the young master and jumped out of the window of the mansion with him. The teacher and a young fighter sat in a restaurant. Xiao told the man that Lei should already be dead. Jen looked carefully at the guy and asked why he was thinking so. Xiao explained to his partner that the main character is a martial artist. There were also conflicts inside the family. Jen looked thoughtfully out the window. He said that the main character is not a killer. If he wanted to kill someone, he would interrupt everyone in the mall. Xiao looked with excitement at the man and asked, was it really a matter of gaining momentum? Jen calmly drank a drink from a cup and answered the guy that everything was happening that way. The main character walked down the street and held Lioi for clothes. He went to the street seller and asked him for a smelly tofu sauce. The seller brought 2 bottles with liquid to the guys. He asked the protagonist, why did he need such a smelly sauce that pigs do not eat? Mu put his hand on the guy's head. He explained to the seller that he needed a smelly sauce to help his brother after he drank diclofos. The man began to very quickly open the container with the sauce. He shouted to the main character that he would bring him yet. Mu grabbed the guy behind his hand. He told him that they would help him now. The man approached him with a large capacity. The seller flooded the contents of the container inside the young master. He told him that at his age, it was time to have a head on his shoulders. The seller poured a large jar of sauce inside the guy and said that he would finish everything. Lei felt nausea and fell to the ground. The protagonist told the truth that his sauce had a very strong stink, as if they had added something there. The man answered the guy that an ancient recipe from the ancestors was used in the sauce. The main character asked the seller how much he should pay the money. The man jumped into his trading car and drove sharply along the street. Mu stood and held the guy's clothes. Next to him, a woman came up to them with the owner. The hostess felt an unpleasant odor. She looked at her son and viciously asked the protagonist, what did he do to him? The protagonist approached the woman and viciously reminded her that she had drunk her son diclofos. Mu swung and hit the woman with his hand over his face. He viciously told her that he had caused her son vomiting, and the guy survived. The hostess viciously told the guy that when the head of the family would return, she would kill him. The protagonist told the woman that Lei is his consolidated brother. She herself almost killed her own son. In revenge, they can kill her itself. The main character turned around and asked his grandfather, what did he think about this? The old man ordered his subordinates to take the hostess back to the villa and not let anyone into her. Leia had to be taken to the doctor. 2 fighters picked up a woman and her son under her arms and led them further along the street. The man came up behind and said in a joyful voice to the main character that everything somehow decided. Mu headed further along the street. He said goodbye to the owner that the head of the family will decide what to do. Mu headed down the street. He thought that most of his problems were resolved. He wanted to teach the girl to control the energy of Tao. The protagonist returned to his home in the big house of Tiner Hanfu. Ji sat on the couch and ate chips from the package. She watched the TV. Mu entered the hall and greeted the girl. The girlfriend looked slyly at the protagonist and in a joyful voice said that she was watching the drama. Mu pointed to the girl and said that she would go with him. The main character went into his bedroom and took off his outerwear. He decided to change clothes. Ji opened the door and carefully followed the other. The girl sat on the bed. She thought to herself that the guy had a very beautiful body. Ji felt very strong constraint. She laid her hands on her face and thought that she was very embarrassed. The main character put on a shirt. Ji told a friend with a shy voice that he could take a shower. Mu put his hand on the girl's shoulder next to him. He said that now you need to get down to business. Ji put her hand to her head. She told the guy with a shy voice that she was worried and she has no experience in this. Mi smiled cunningly to his girlfriend and promised her that he would definitely teach her everything. Ji went on the bed and closed her eyes in fright. The main character sat next to her. Mu put his hand on the girl's stomach and asked how she was feeling now. A girlfriend shyly told the guy that his hand is very warm. She asked him to be very gentle with her. The main character did not understand the girl incomprehensibly. He did not understand what she was talking about. Mi hit his girlfriend on the head and viciously asked how she feels in her body. The protagonist, sitting on the bed, promised the girl that he could teach her to fight off the bully. He demanded that a girlfriend close her eyes and tells how she feels. Mu laid his hand on his girlfriend's stomach. He asked how she feels. Ji closed her eyes and in a delighted voice answered the guy that she feels the whole world. The main character thought joyfully that his girlfriend had talent and could feel the rhythm of the world. Mu headed aside. The girl was lying on the bed. The main character told her that she would now begin to feel spiritual energy within herself. The guy sat on the couch and ate chips. They seemed very tasty and good to him. The protagonist read carefully messages on the phone. There were various news. Mu read the news that lightning struck in a 1,000-year-old tree. He decided not to miss such good material for energy accumulation. Suddenly, the main character heard some suspicious noise above him. Mu climbed the stairs. He decided that the neighbors had a repair from above. The main character decided to ask the neighbors to shut up. The girl was focused on meditation. Mu knocked on the door to the neighbors and asked them to open the door as soon as possible. The front door opened, and on the threshold appeared a Verzel with a brick in his hand. He viciously asked the protagonist, what did he need? The protagonist reminded Tolstoy neighbor that repair work is prohibited until 2 in the afternoon. The man raised a brick in his hand. He viciously told the main character so that he would not interfere with his work. The protagonist threatened the man with a call of the police. The neighbor answered the guy that the police would leave and he still continues to repair. The main character pointed a finger at the man's hand. He said that he had bricks not of the best quality. The owner dragged on a cigarette. He menacingly told the guy that all his brains will flow out of his brick. The main character calmly swung his hand and broke the brick in half in front of a surprised neighbor. The guy took the phone and prepared to call the police. The man told him in a frightened voice that in their country the law is above all and it is better for him not to run into the police. The protagonist called and told the police that he was hit on the head with a brick. He called the address of the house. The fighter at the table with a tired voice thanked the mentor for the reception. Jen offered the guy to pay for everything himself. Xiao explained to the mentor that many people are waiting for a salary to Fen Xin Hui. The man extended the phone to the waitress. He told the guy that he just looks cool. Xiao remembered the last oath to himself. He promised that he would never return to the mountain until he had a high status. Jen got up from the table. He told the guy that his uncle missed him. They have not seen each other for a long time. On the street, Xiao asked the mentor to get him a piece of a tree, into which lightning knocked 9 times. Such a tree has a very special material. The man told the guy that Lao Jun had already bought a tree. He will need to talk to this person. Xiao answered the mentor that they would need to go together. The man sternly told the guy that they need to be careful. The White Lotus sect could also put the eye on a tree. Xiao bravely waved his hand. He promised a man that he would kill all the sectarians. Zhen warned the fighter so that he would not lose his vigilance. The main character stood near the ancient house. A tree lay on a large truck. Mu decided to talk with Lao Jun to get a piece of wood. Mu stood near a large tree. He thought that if everything went without a fight, then it would be wonderful. The main character noticed how the car drove up. A man with a guy came out of him. Mu asked his partners, what did they forget here together? Xiao smiled slyly to the main character and said that the guy decided as if he could be here, but he could not. The guy pointed a finger at a large tree in a truck. He told his partners that they came for a part from this tree, into which lightning struck. Jen explained to the main character that they came on behalf of their sect and did not want to fight. Mu sternly looked at his partners and reminded them of his abilities. A young servant suddenly appeared on the side. He looked in surprise at people near the car. The main character greeted the minister and said that he wants to see Lao. The fighter also told the young servant that he wants to see Lao Zun. The minister told the guest that his master was ready to give them half the tree. Further, they themselves can separate it. Mu asked the minister, did his master say anything else? The partner answered the guy that this is all. The minister went to the stairs. He told the guests not to ask unnecessary questions. He still had business in the temple. Mu looked after the servant and thought that this guy was simple. The main character invited his partners to discuss everything, not fight. Xiao approached his teacher and offered to fight together against the protagonist and not ceremony. Jen explained to his partner that their rival is not already simple. He suggested dividing the tree in half. The man came up and asked the guy, how much did he want a tree for himself? Mu explained to his partner that he wants a piece of a column 2 meters long. Xiao raised his hand up and said in displeasure that the main character could get only 1 meter. Mu in a calm voice answered the guy that he agreed to get a meter of wood. The main character heard the noise on the side. He told his partners that someone was approaching them. Several military teachers with students appeared. Whether he told the main character that he was very vigilant if he heard them from afar. Si Fing threatened that the tree would belong to the White Lotus sect. Mu looked at the fighters and said that they had very terrible skills and breathing techniques. Xiao viciously said that people from the Lao Zun temple decided to use other fighters against them as cannon fodder. The mentor answered the student to be more careful with the words. Xiao pointed his hand to the fighters and said that they were a crowd of stupid sectarians and could attack him. Li looked at the guy with interest and said that he could attack. They were not afraid of him. The main character headed to the side. He told the guy with a man that he no longer needs a tree. They can figure it out themselves. Jen asked the protagonist in surprise, what did he mean? Mu spread his hands and explained to the man that he did not want to get into their showdown. Xiao turned around and demanded from the protagonist to help them in return. He promised him 2 meters of wood. Mu raised his finger up and explained to the guy that he wanted to get half of the tree. Xiao was displeased to his partner that he agreed. The main character went forward to the rivals. He said that he would deal with the teachers. The abbot and Xiao will fight against the students. The teachers accelerated and rushed forward at the protagonist. Li viciously asked the guy, did he really decide that he would cope with the teachers of the White Lotus sect? 2 teachers flew from above on the protagonist. Fing shouted to the guy that they were not even great masters. The main character put 2 hands forward and repulsed the teachers flying on him. Li and the hairdryer lay unconscious on earth. Mu viciously told the teachers that they wanted to intimidate him in their own words. The protagonist turned to the side and noticed how Zhen fought against the fighters with Xiao. Xiu fought off the rivals. He shouted to the main character that his help would not prevent them. Mu turned to the side with displeasure and reminded the guy about the magical word. Zhen fought back from his rivals. He asked the protagonist for 5 million help. Mu stretched his hand and headed to help his new acquaintances fight. The main character launched a magical skill in the form of a huge burning palm. He knocked down the fighters and they scattered to the sides. The fighters lay unconscious on earth. The main character told surprised partners that they would not forget 5 million for him. Xiao asked a man, could the main character be stronger than their great mentor? Jen answered the guy that Mole could even be so strong. Jen looked aside at the teachers lying on the road. He told the student that you need to deal with the remaining sectarians now. Xiao grabbed the phone in his hand and prepared to call. At this time, a bullet flew up to him from the side. The man scaredly warned the guy that there were still people from the White Lotus sect. Xiao sharply dodged and defended himself from the bullet. He shouted that he could not be attacking from the rear. The bullet in the flight turned sharply and went again to the fighter. The stranger angrily asked the guy could he still dodge? The bullet flew up from behind and broke through Xiao's hand. He looked angry aside. She sat down on the ground. He shouted to the teacher to be more careful. There was a difficult rival against them. There was a mercenary from a White Lotus sect named Li Saisi. She viciously told the guy that no one had run away from her yet. The man viciously told the stranger that she could not just win them. Li pointed her finger at the protagonist and asked if she could defeat him. Mu spread his hands to the side. He explained the mercenary that he was just an ordinary passerby. The mercenary said with the surprise of the guy that he was young and already a master. She invited him to join the White Lotus sect. The protagonist in a dissatisfied voice told the girl that she is not in his taste. Li slyly told the guy that he was young and does not know what older women could do. Mu answered the mercenary that she could not defeat them with magic. He advised the girl to leave. The mercenary asked the guy, did he really want to go against the White Lotus sect? Mu explained to his opponent that he agreed to help for money and would go to the end. The mercenary prepared to activate the spell. She viciously told the main character that her girlfriends would not know how to be with a young and strong guy. Mu extended his hand forward to protect. He shouted to the girl that he did not want to drink all the blood out of him. Smoke dissipated. Mu looked forward with surprise and noticed how the mercenary disappeared somewhere. After a long pause, the main character said that the mercenary was very fast. Behind him stood a surprised mentor with a student. The mercenary rushed behind the wheel of an expensive red car. She threatened the main character that they would still meet. A small reconnaissance drone appeared near the entrance to the estate. He shot everything in detail. In the big city of Yuzhou, people were in one of the high-rise buildings. The head at the head of the table demanded from subordinate comments about the protagonist. The chief manager named Hu Hunli took the documents. He told those present that the protagonist had the first level of Xiao. Everything is very strange with the guy. He seemed to fall from the sky. The president named Lu Shen told his subordinates to seek order in the country and did not investigate the biography of some guy. Hu told the boss that he would need people to clean up the crime scene. He will take care of journalists and news. Shen picked up a cup. He demanded that the subordinates find a way to talk to the main character. It was necessary to find the opportunity to make Mu join their company. The main character stood in the forest between the trees. A whole bunch of daggers flew on him. Mu held out his hand to the side, and the blades flew away from him. He said that the power of thunder and lightning can be released if you use spiritual power. The guy held out his hand in his pocket and said that he could use this so far. There was a white car on the road in the distance. The main character looked at the car. She pursued him after he left the temple of Laojun. Hu called the car and informed the boss that the main character is an expert in the use of spiritual weapons. The man noticed that the guy declared him and was heading for the car. The main character went to the car and knocked on the glass. He told the driver that he has been chasing him for a very long time. Hu left the car and told the guy that he would like to talk to him on behalf of the company. Mu waved his hand towards the stranger. He viciously told him that he was not interested in serving business. The main character held out his hand forward and noticed how the driver's hand also brightly lit up. Mu realized that the stranger has a spiritual weapon. He asked the driver, "Who is he?" Hu lost his hand with a handkerchief. He told the main character that their company was responsible for supporting social stability. Hu told the chief hero that they would guide independent people and solve conflicts between large sects. The main character asked his partner, what does he do if people refuse to obey? Hu told his partner that the best representatives of the elite work in their companies. Do not underestimate them. Mi slyly looked at his partner and said that he completely agreed with him. Hu extended his hand to the main character and asked if he wanted to talk to him. Mu shook his hand to his partner. He said that he could choose a place and show the road. In the center of Yuzhou, in one of the large buildings, Qi sat in a restaurant. At this time, Wu came up to her. The woman at the table slyly smiled at the partner and said that they met again. The girl sat at the table and put her bag nearby. She told the woman that she spent a fortune. The woman at the table told the girl to study the menu and said what she would like to add. Wu answered her partner to stop, yet it was not too late. The girl explained that the Wu family, when she would not cooperate with the Zhen family. The woman told her partner that she felt relief when she heard a refusal from her. Wu cunningly told her partner so that she would not be very strained. He looked thoughtfully to the side. She said that there are things that are not subject to her. Wu took a cup. She asked the woman, did she really have no choice when she complicated the life of the protagonist? Qi with excitement explained to the partner that the guy was not part of her plans. He always gave out what he wanted. The girl called her partner an idiot. Qi, sitting at the table, asked her partner, what did she mean? Wu explained to the woman that the main character is very strong and she must agree with this. Wu slyly asked her partner if she realized the power of the guy. He thought deeply. She sat and looked in front of her silently. Wu took food on a fork. She explained to the woman that the potential of the protagonist is much more than she could imagine. He asked the girl in displeasure, why is she so elevated by a guy? Wu explained to the woman that the protagonist hid his strength for many years and suppressed pride. Qi calmly asked the girl, was she in a hurry with conclusions? Wu demanded from a woman not to deny her. She would like Qi to have half the patience of the protagonist. The girl explained the surprised woman that with her current abilities, she could have a half family. The girl at the table reached out and told the woman that her family had already studied Chenov and was ready to continue cooperation. Wu told the woman that she did not want to cooperate with the family of idiots. Qi told her partner that the main character previously looked after her and she has a good chance to win. The woman in a joyful voice told the girl that the Zhen family has a good chance to rise with the help of the protagonist. Wu laughed merrily. She told her partner that she would not work out. He asked the girl, was she really stood so low in her eyes? Wu jumped up to her feet and grabbed her bag in her hands. She told the woman that she chose the protagonist as a man. In parting, Wu explained to the woman that she could give the main character the right to manage the whole family of Zhen. In parting, the girl shouted to the woman to take care of her business. The white car, along with passengers, drove up to the company's building. Mu got out of the car and looked at the building. He said that the construction does not look very impressive. Hu came up and explained to the guy that their company is serving. Inside the building, Hu brought the protagonist to the door. He said that the president was waiting for him. The main character, along with his companion, went into a large office. The president sat at the head of the table. Li got up and greeted the protagonist. He held out his hand to him. Mu looked around and asked, why all this? Hu pushed the chair near the table for the protagonist and said that he would sit down. Li sat at the table. He told the main character to feel at home. The main character threw his legs on the table. He told the man that he always behaves at home. Li looked at the guy and said that he was carefree. The president explained to his guest that he invited him here to propose to join their organization. Mu held documents in his hands. He carefully studied the work schedule. He was offered insurance and money. Li explained to the guy that payments to employees are formed the basis for their retention. The main character studied the document. He realized that the base rate is 2,100. It was a minimum salary in the city. The president explained to the guy that they have very generous bonuses. The average salary of their employees exceeds 8,000. The main character laid documents on the table. He asked the president, "Does he really look like he needed money?" Lee enthusiastically told his guest that he should work for the company and learn to be grateful. The main character was very surprised when he heard such words from the president. Lee sternly looked at the guy and said that he could be a fake mug Chenfin. Hugh brought documents to the main character. The president told the guy the details of his biography. He even knew who Mu fought with when he appeared on the street on the first night. The main character slyly told the president that he had studied him very carefully. Lee explained to the guy that he wants to call him a full name, Mu Zhenfen. In the office in the large building of the Chug Group, a man sat and talked with his son. The guy told his father that they took control of a person in Yangbi. They can begin to fulfill the plan at any time. The man sat closely and studied the documents. He answered his partner that he understood. The guy told his father that they attack competitors secretly, and at the same time, they have no chance to influence the situation. The man told his son that he worked hard for the last couple of days. He can return and stay with his mother. People will take care of the rest. The son jumped up and hit his hand on the table. He explained to his father that he had been engaged in this case for a long time and did not want to give it to anyone. The guy shouted that he wanted to bring the family to complete despair with his own hands. The man extinguished the cigar. He joyfully told the guy that he did not expect less from him. Father demanded his son to do his work purely. The guy promised a man that he would tear his family for pieces in 3 days. The guy went to the door and prepared everything to leave. He turned the door handle. The fighter seemed to tell himself that the main character would personally ask him for mercy. The guy demanded from his subordinates that they would book more numbers in one institution. He wanted to have fun. The servants thanked the young master Zhenya. In the office in a large building, the girl sat in the room with her guard. The girl lay on the pillow and looked at the phone. She asked the guard, "What can a guy do now?" Jiné, distracted from reading, he told the girl that he did not know the thoughts of the protagonist. The guy could train somewhere. Wu carefully looked into her phone. She explained to the man that the main character is not so boring. The girl took a closer look at the phone. She saw some important message there. Wu sat on the bed. She shouted with the excitement that Zheng would hit very soon. The guard explained to the girl that while the main character was nearby, Zhen could not do anything. Wu with excitement invited the man to go to the company. She explained that the company could not sit and observe their hands. Chen told the girl that the company was supposed to contact the guy after what happened near the temple of Laojun. The president was at the head of the table at the company's office. Next to him in the chair was the main character. Li held a glass in his hands. He asked the guy, was he ready to admit everything? The protagonist thoughtfully explained to the man that he was at the same time Mu Chenfen and is not him. The president told the guy that he does not believe that he is such a boring person. The main character asked the president if he heard about the rebirth of the immortal. The man felt a strong excitement of his hand with a glass. Li put the glass on the table. He told the main character that this explains why he had changed. Mu jumped to his feet. He asked the man, did he really believe in such an invention? Li explained to the guy that his words about the rebirth of the immortal were meaningless, but there can be no better explanation. The protagonist sat carefully and studied the documents. He told the president that his company has many different exotic talents, including cultivators. Li picked up the remote control. He explained to the guy that people with abilities and ordinary people should find new methods of coexistence. On TV, the announcer spoke about the explosion near the temple of Laojun. There were no victims. The president explained to the main character that this is the meaning of their company. The main character viciously explained to the president that he wants to live his life peacefully. Anyone who looks to break his peace will die soon. Li explained to the guy that the company has been studying methods for restoring spiritual veins for the past few years. Mu explained to the president that spiritual veins are a manifestation of heaven. The energy of the earth is changing. The protagonist warned the president that he would not be able to lure him into the company with the help of this. Li grabbed a glass. He told angrily the chief hero that he underestimates the capabilities of the company. Hugh brought the guy a folder with documents. The president told the main character that this information would change his opinion. The main character carefully read the documents. He angrily asked who gave Zhenbelu the courage to die? The man told the guy that the company would not allow him to do whatever he wants if he goes to Zhenya now. Mu said in displeasure to the man that he threatens him. The president headed for the exit. He pointed out that Mu and with him Weibo to continue the conversations. Hu explained to the main character that the company could help the Mu family survive the test. but the guy must definitely join them. Ma sat at the table. He demanded the highest level of freedom for himself. The main character also promised to adhere to the rules of the company. Mu raised his hand up and said in a strict voice that he wanted a full salary. Hu handed the guy documents and said that he was offered a vacancy of the interns. When the protagonist signed the documents, the company will be able to return his father from Yangbei. Mu read the document carefully. He asked his partner, "What kind of interpretation is this?" Hu explained to the main character that he would earn 1 million every year. The benefits will be doubled. The guy will have to come to work only for special missions. Mu told the partner that everything looks as if he had planned everything. Hu answered the guy that the company always has a plan. Mu signed a document. He asked Hu what was he going to do with the trade war that Zhenya started. Hu set the seal to the document. He told the main character that the company could ensure security to all members of the Mu family. The main character got angry and jumped to his feet. There was fire around him. He viciously asked the employee, how did he dare to deceive him? Wu ran into the room. She told the main character to leave a trade war for her. Mu looked at the girl and asked why she came here. Wu pushed her arm with her hands. She told the guy that she came to her own company. The girl stroked the protagonist with his hand in the face. She said that if they meet, then it will be a service novel. Ma sat at the table. He said to the girl in a thoughtful voice that he had a serious matter here. The girl told the main character in a joyful voice that the company will be able to ensure the safety of the Mu family. At this time, she will be able to take care of the safety of all family assets. Mu looked at his girlfriend and thanked her in a very joyful voice. The girl sat down at the guy and said that she should help him. He was a man she chose. Wu looked displeased at the employee near the table. She angrily asked him, what was he doing here? Hu went to the exit. Near the door, he told the girl that he was performing the duties of the president. The girl was sitting next to the main character on an armchair. Mu told her that she hid everything very well. Wu cunningly glanced at the guy and said that in recent years he had never been mistaken. The main character asked his girlfriend, where is now? Zhenbei Wu explained to the guy that beating should now be on the way to one of the institutions. Mu, at full speed, headed for the exit from the room. In parting, Wu asked the guy so that he would not create problems for her and the company. The main character stopped. He answered the girl that he himself knows what he was doing. The main character approached the street to the institution called Rolling World. Mu turned carefully and looked aside. He noticed several racing cars in front of him. The main character came up and called the name Zhang Bei. The guy jumped out of the car and said in displeasure that Mu was still determined to play. Mai grabbed the guy with his hand by the clothes. He viciously asked, is he really guilty of what happened in Yangbei? One of the fighters swung and knocked behind the protagonist with his foot. He demanded that the other guys kill Mu. Mu held Bei for his clothes. He turned around and angrily threatened the stranger that he would be the first to destroy him. The guy was scared. He could not say anything. Other frightened fighters stood next to him. Mu asked his partner if he was involved in what happened in Yangbei. Bei gained courage and answered the partner that he was involved. The guy demanded that the protagonist be on his knees in front of him. Mu sharply swung his knee and hit the guy on his feet with all his might. After a strong blow, Bei fell to his knees. He shouted displeasedly with the name of the protagonist. Mu viciously looked at Bei and said that he did not force him to speak nonsense. The main character turned around and looked at the fighter nearby. He threatened him that he would be the following. The fighter began to wave her hands in fright. He shouted to the main character that he did not think about what he was saying. Suddenly, a fighter came to mind some idea. He grabbed his hand by the brick on the ground. The guy began to knock on his head with a brick. Mup in a satisfied voice told himself that at least one opponent was smart. Bei was kneeling. The main character angrily asked the guy who organized everything that happened in Yangbei. The guy looked angrily at the protagonist and shouted that he had broken his legs. Mu unexpectedly sharply swung his hand very much. He hit with all his might on the face. Beat, in an irritated voice, shouted to the main character that he would not dare to kill him. Mu sharply swung his palm and pounded Bei on his face with all his might. Bei told the head hero that he could kill him. He threatened that he knew where the villa of the Mu family is located. Mu swung his hand to finish his opponent. At this time, someone called him from the side by name. A woman of Qi came up from the side and strictly demanded from the protagonist to stop. Mu Qinfen was very seriously configured and neutralized his enemy with one palm. The man flew far to the side and fell his back on the asphalt. The girl immediately ran up to him. She hugged him with one hand behind her head. The boy came up and asked whether he was involved in this. The girl was very angry and answered Mu Chenfeng that he was disappointing her very much. Then the main character, holding his head, laughed and asked her to disappear because he did not hit women. The girl said that he knew that this guy was her brother and still wounded him so much. She asked the boy to apologize or forget that they would see her again. The main character turned around, smiled, and called the girl to self. Confident, he asked her to believe that she was very lucky that she did not take part in this. There are games in which she is not allowed to play. Mu Chenfen, turning around, began to leave, and the girl said after him that he would regret the deed today. The boy turned in her direction and seriously said that today, only the beginning. Meanwhile, the man got into the car and spoke on the phone. He was told that he would not exacerbate the problem. Mr. Liu replied that he understood everything and immediately take the necessary measures for Yang Bei. Meanwhile, the street was already getting dark and night is about to come. Before us rises the building of the hospital. The girl told the guy that the doctor said that he would need a maximum of 3 months to restore. She asked to simply forget about everything and concentrate on recovery, but the guy replied that she did not understand anything and how he could be hospitalized at such a moment. He simply cannot stick out here. The girl explained that she forced Mu Chenfeng to do this without any respect for two great families. Then the guy pushed the apple that she cleaned him and asked to fail him. Since they did not have the right to climb into these affairs, the girl was a little upset and called herself his older sister indignant at his behavior. The brother explained that she would still stop being a member of the Zheng family when she got married and asked her to know her place. The sister was very upset because, being a woman, she had to endure such an attitude not only from him, since her father acts exactly the same. She was told that if she had at least half of his patience, they would have at least half of Zheng's family. The girl explained to her brother that he was behaving stupid, whether she will marry or not. But she will always be Zheng. Bei smiled back and said that she had nothing but priority speeches. Before they had time to finish how a full man entered the room with a serious expression on his face, he immediately went to the guy who was lying on a hospital bed and asked the girl to go out. She smiled back and told her father that he would leave the room first. Then his father went to his brother lying in bed and put his palm in front of him. He hit the guy in the face with his hand with all his might and asked how he could screw up like that. Bei squeezed his fists and replied that he needed him dead, and he wants Mu Chenfen to die. Father said that he contacted the Society of Flying Stars, and they refused to work. The son exclaimed that it was simply impossible, and they would do anything for the sake of money. They would never have done so, and they should be too expensive for him, and he refused to restore justice for his own son. Father again hit Bei on his cheek and asked if he taught him to talk like that with his father. He probably has ties with the Society of Flying Stars, but this is no longer important. Father explained to his son that he launched their plan ahead of schedule, and chaos should be going on in the MU group now. And then, the next bright, fabulous day came. The sun was shining and the sky was blue and bright. The protagonist explained to the girl that the sword was moving with his gaze, and the hand with the sword. The boy helped her master the technique of owning a sword. He hugged her waist and said that the case was moving behind his hand. He tried to reach her and said that this was done in one smooth movement. The girl sadly dropped her gaze, said that she remembered everything. But was he not too close to her? Mu Chenfen asked her to clear his mind from all unnecessary thoughts and concentrate immediately. The girl immediately agreed and asked, looking at the guy, why she knew all this. Mu Chenfen explained by putting a sword in front of him that it was, of course, for self-defense. After mastering the skills, no one can more mock her. The girl was very happy and exclaimed that it was just wonderful and amazing. It seemed to be shocked. It could not believe that the water was turned off in the house. Mu Chenfen took her hand and asked to run rather because they would have to pay if they are caught. She fled with him and laughed sweetly in response. And now they were already in the room. The boy, looking at her, thought that he had not noticed before that this girl was really pretty beautiful. She wanted to say something to her young master, but he covered her mouth with his finger. Mu Chenfen asked her not to say anything. She immediately closed her eyes and decided that if her young master did it, she would not regret it. The boy abruptly opened his eyes and said that someone was calling him at such a late moment. Then the upset girl turned around and told the young master that he should first do his work, after which she ran to the shower. Mu Chenfen took the phone in his hands, and when he saw that the old master Mu was calling him, he was interested in good, or he had a reason for this call. The man asked the boy to rush and return to the villa as the group had a huge problem. And now we are towering the beautiful wide villa of the MU family. She really was bright and spacious, than beckoning others to her. Mu Chenfen Sroka, the old man explained to the old man that he was better off having a serious reason to call him so urgently. Mr. Mu asked whether Jen Bei beat him so much yesterday that he was in the hospital. The protagonist grabbed his head with his hand and explained that he offended him, and this is just a small slap in the face. But the woman who stood nearby poked a finger at him and asked if he did not harm the Mu family. The boy replied that he remembers that she was still under house arrest and who released her. He asked the man trying to sit on two chairs, throwing a formidable look at him. Mr. Mu answered the guy that he had created a huge problem and should pay for his act as soon as possible. The guy came up to him and exclaimed that while his father was under the control of Zhensin Yangbei, their market value fell by 10 million, after which he called the kid a bastard. He grabbed the document in his hand and looking at the protagonist that he said that this was all his fault. It doesn't matter how useless he is, but he never did anything so reckless. If they continue to consider this villain family, who knows what other troubles he will bring next time. He was very angry at Mu Chenfeng and turned around and thought that this time they would look at whether he would win or not. The second guy said that the young master is right and they could no longer hold Mu Chenfeng and the Mu family. The chapter would never allow him to create this as if being here. Everyone took up arms against him and said that he was thinking as if Invincible once learned a couple of miserable tricks. The old man asked if they wanted to say something else. Mu Chenfeng sat with a very confident view of his chair and crossed his arms, crossed on his chest, that all this was nonsense. Meanwhile, the girl lay on the sofa with her stomach down, deepening completely into her phone. She said that gens are definitely cruel. If things go and continue, then they probably go bankrupt by noon. When Madame Feng replied to the call, she was told that she could also start her part. The man approached her and said that she uses family resources to help Mu. This can cause too much excitement. Miss Feng replied that of course the family of Mu is not worth it to do this. However, she cannot say the same about Mu Chenfan. She got up from the couch and exclaimed that she was going to go to the Mu family. They must be more now complicated by Mu Chenfan's life. The girl was seriously configured and headed for the exit to go there as soon as possible, where the main character was now. Mu Chenfen continued to sit on a chair and called everyone around the imbeciles because over the past few years the family ruined until the very foundation, and he is not going to puff for them. Before the guy had time to finish, the wounded guy ran to him and called him a villain. He wanted to hit him, but Mu Chenfen managed to make this first, and a powerful sniff flew towards the enemy. He asked, did the guy forget as soon as his wounds healed and cracked him with his foot in the back place? The guy flew far back and fell his back to the floor, turning over several times. He asked the master to see how this guy was still daring to beat him. Does he not put on his fifth point? He also dares to hit him in the face. The elder asked the guy to shut up immediately. He explained to the main character that he is also a member of their family. But why then he treats his family? Mu Chenfen asked to immediately stop the presentations and asked how many of them they really saw in him. He asked the old man, starting from the villa, crawled to the gens group on his knees. The old man will forget about everything if gens forgive him. Mu Chenfen answered Mr. Mu that if his name was because of such trifles, he did not want to waste time anymore. The old man explained that they existed throughout generations. Is it true that he thinks that they ended all the trump cards? When the main character looked out the window, he asked if all this is at all capable of. Mr. Mu threatened that if he tries to take at least one step from the villa without his order, he would go to the gens group, he likes it or not. Before he had time to finish, the door opened into the room and the girl began to enter. She asked them to calm down, especially the old master, and called him a respected person. There is no need to lose his temper due to disputes with the young. The man immediately looked at Miss Wu. He asked why she did not ask the servants to warn them about her arrival. Then he would better prepare for a meeting with her. The girl approached Mu Chenfan and said that there was no need for these troubles and they will soon be with her family as it is too polite. Mr. Mu answered approvingly and asked the girl to take any place she wants. He asked for this place as his own home. A family member immediately turned to the old master and said that despite this, Mu Chenfen is the only one who is guilty of everything and he must be responsible. The main character immediately said that he wanted to close his eyes to what happened. But since he insists that he would take measures, then asks not to blame him for ruthlessness. Miss Wu called him magnificent in all respects, with the exception of his stubborn nature, and asked not to forget about her other personality now. Mu Chenfen thought that she specially arrived in order to prevent the defeat of the case. And yet now he is in the company. Then he asked what the market value of the shares of the MU group and promised to buy them all. The old man replied that they could allow him to redeem the shares. The current market value of the MU group is at least billions. The boy promised to redeem the entire group for 3 billion. The guy with a bandaged hand laughed and asked what kind of joke it was and could he fork out as much as 3 billion. Mu Chen-fen turned to Miss Wu and asked to lend him this money. Let him believe that he is in debt to her, and so far this does not contradict moral and ethical values, and he will agree to fulfill her request. The girl laughed and said that he behaves too strange when it comes to a loan. She asked to take this money as her dowry and does not need to be returned. Before he had time to understand what happened as the money was already transferred to his account, Mu Chen-fen was ready to sign a contract. And now, the whole family gathered at the table where the main character had already signed a contract. He raised the document up and said that now the group belongs to him and is enough to bother him with such things. The young man said, looking at the guy that the company was about to go bankrupt and only a fool would want to own it. Mr. Mu said that perhaps they lost a group, but 3 billion is enough to live a few generations. The guy again said that her taste in men seems to be not so good, and if she chose it, she would not have to spend so much money in vain. Miss Wu replied that she was happy to go to it and called him a villain. She asked what he would say now. Mr. Mu told the girl that it seems she remained and asked if she was not enough for this drama. Miss Wu, smiling, replied that she was, and why would she leave when the show was just beginning? Suddenly, another member of the family entered the room and exclaimed that they had magnificent news since the course of shares of the MU group was flying up again. It is restored to the previous level. Based on the trend today, they can exceed 50 billion. The old man and his comrade were very surprised by such a turn of events. Miss Wu explained that they sold a whole company worth 50 billion for 3 billion and called them a bunch of idiots. The main character took the girl's hand and asked to leave rather, because there was no need to waste time on this place. But unexpectedly, Mr. Mu said Mu Chen-fan that he wants to talk to him on behalf of his family. The boy turned to the old man and asked to pack his things. 3 days later, he will carry out the audit of the group and there will be no place for useless leeches in the company. Meanwhile, the morning had already begun in an extensive company, and the girl went to the office of her father. She opened the door and exclaimed, turning to him, that it was all bad. Then his father, without even looking at her, asked who said that she could come in and asked to get out of here. The girl did not listen to him but said that their shares were rapidly falling and they had just lost 30 billion. Father immediately took out the phone and exclaimed that this was impossible since Mu could not take revenge, so Wu did it. My daughter asked her father to take a sip of water and think together what you can do, because there should probably be some kind of solution. But his father went to her and hit her face with a worthless loafer. How she could not even cope with a small girl from the VU family. What a lot then to keep her. The girl was very upset and holding her hand to the flaming cheek, tried to explain something to her father. Father turned around, began to go to the door and asked her to calm down, because he did not want to hear her justification anymore. Then the girl fell to her knees leaning against the hospital bed and just looked after him with a sad look. Her brother asked not to get so strong. She will help the company until she's successfully married. The girl rose to her feet and answered her brother that, regardless of how her father was treating her, she would help her family until her forces are exhausted. Having said this, she went to the door and left the chamber in which her brother was. She took her phone and dialed the protagonist. The girl asked him to meet her, and now they were already walking along high, beautiful trees along a narrow, paved alley. Mu Chen-fen told the girl that she was so tightly inviting him to a date and asked if she had something wrong today. Is there any point in observing decency? Mu Chen-fen said that in some way he should thank her, otherwise he would not have received full control over the family of Mu. Then the girl asked what conditions he agreed that Miss Wu helped him. The boy explained that people like her funny and why she always thinks about the worst. They are best friends and why they cannot just help each other. Then she asked how people could have friends. Mu Chen-fen replied that she could not make friends if she does not behave with them sincerely. Then the girl turned to the main character and asked him to become her boyfriend. Mu Chen-fen did not expect such an offer and asked what she had in mind. Then she said that if he promises to release Jens, she would agree to be his girlfriend. Mu Chen-fen asked whether it was her goal. Has she really came here so that he lagged behind Jens? Then she replied that she agreed to be his girlfriend and asked what he still needed. Mu Chen-fen explained that Jens constantly caused trouble. Now when they suffered some losses from his retaliation, they sent it in order to offer the world. Does it seem to her too cheap trick? And if this is all what she wanted to talk about, then she better not call him again. The girl grabbed his hand and exclaimed that she would give him everything that he wanted, only asked to leave Jens alone. Then the main character asked if she had the right to decide at all. The girl replied that of course there was. Mu Chen-fen said that in this case he wants 51% of the company Jens. He asked if she would go to it. But the girl asked not to interrupt her. Mu Chen-fen, turning around, began to leave and said that they would talk when she could say the final word. She again asked the boy to stop immediately. Before us rises the building of the service company, no overtime. The news had just received that Zheng Qi invited Mu Chenfeng to a conversation. Miss Wu listened to a man and answered with jealousy in her eyes that she understood everything. Then the man asked, really not even a little worried. Miss Wu answered him a question with a question and asked for safety whether Mr. Mu now. Then the man took the remote control and turned on the video on which it was shown that he was returning to Yuzhou. Miss Wu turned her head towards the screen and smiling said that she was glad to hear it. If Mu Chenfen agrees to a truce, whether their efforts will be in vain. Miss Wu again did not answer the man's question, but asked about his opinion. What can this guy do? The man got up from his chair and answered the girl that he was walking now with Zheng Qi. He explained that her father acting as the president exploded because of this. Miss Wu said that he could blow up everything to his soul. In any case, nothing serious has happened yet. When Mu and Zhen's declare a truce, this is only a matter of time. They need to wait a bit, and how many advantages Mu Chenfen can extract from this? The girl laughed and said that this guy dared to meet with her left woman behind her, and he would still receive from her when he returned. The man laughed and said that he did not expect to see such emotions on Miss Wu's face, sowing chaos in Yangbei. The girl replied that he was aging and the whole thing is in the gap of generations. Before they had time to finish how the guy entered the room and told Mr. Liu that Jens contacted the White Lotus sect. There is a great risk that the problem will get out of control. Mr. Liu glanced at the papers and asked to prepare for everything in advance, and he would come up with how to defuse the situation. The guy began to go to the exit and told Mr. that he was doing all this. Miss Wu asked a man how the company plans to cope with the situation if it gets out of control. Mr. Liu replied that if you have to, they use special methods. But regardless of them, the world in the southwest cannot be disturbed. The man held the phone in his hands and, sitting in a cafe, said that he would like to ask him for a favor. His company recently had a small problem with their shares, and he knows that Wu is behind this. But he did not have time to finish how short beeps were heard on the phone. He noticed that when everything is fine, they all behave like brothers to him. Now, when gens have problems, everyone pretends to be a ghost and it seems they have no other choice. Mr. Zheng called Wang and said that he carefully considered his proposal and suits him. He explained that they would find a place to talk tomorrow. The man asked to take from his son with him because Zheng Qi would come too. In the end, the main characters are young people and they are for the company. The girl went to the cafe and sat down at the table. She explained to Mr. Zhen that he had made a lot of efforts to contact her, but she takes a high fee, and whether he knows about it. The man replied that the price corresponds to quality and he thinks that it costs this money. The girl looked at him with a cunning look and asked what her price was in his opinion. The man called the price of 50 million. He said that one of the Mu did not want to appear before him someday. If there are any other services, then let it call the price for what it will offer. The girl called him a joker and said that she would not do something so outrageous under the supervision of the company. Still, she still wants to live a couple of decades. She explained that he would have to add. He also asked exactly how much she wants. Then the girl raised 2 fingers up and gestured with a gesture. Mr. Zhen realized that she was talking about 200 million, but the girl had in mind 2 billion. If he agrees, the White Lotus sect will be able to guarantee that he will solve its problem. She asked if Mr. Zhen wanted other services. It is those that he is now thinking about. The man asked about the price and the girl replied that his life was at the cost. Mr. Zheng laughed and said that she definitely had a sense of humor. The girl turned around, began to go to the exit and asked him to send money by the evening, because they would go there tomorrow morning. The girl was sitting at a table next to her father about something seriously thinking. She told Dad that they should not give in to the requirements of the Wangam, fixing their eyes down. Then the father got angry and asked since when she commands the Zhen's family. A lot of money and power are hidden in this world, and if she wants to get it, she must be ready to pay the corresponding price. Otherwise, it will turn into the same as they are trying to just survive. Does she want the Zhen's family so low? Suddenly, several people entered the room who apologized for being late because they had just returned from the meeting. Father rose from his chair and shook his hand to one of the men. He replied that they had just arrived. The man recognized the girl Zheng Qi and said that she had grown up to a beautiful lady. The girl immediately greeted the man. He turned to the young guy with whom he came and asked where his greeting was. The guy's name was Wang Zichuang, and he immediately got a little embarrassed, greeted Mr. Zhan. The waitress approached them and began to pour tea into cups. She asked to say if they still needed anything. But before the girl had time to finish how a few drops of boiling water fell on the guy's sleeve, The waitress immediately began to apologize to him. Wang Zichuang replied that everything was in order and he asks to return to work. Mr. Zheng called this guy really good-natured, and added that his daughter in his place would definitely raise a noise. Wang Zichuang explained that this waitress could not afford such a shirt for an annual salary, and there is no reason to be so strict for her. In addition, such staff is very vengeful when you treat him too severely. His life is much more valuable than this. Zheng told Vang that he had raised his son well. The man replied that he was not as good as he raised his daughter. They are here in order to accompany them and let the young talk. Wang Zichuan, when his parents left, took the girl's hand and said that he did not see any problems. It would be better to arrange a wedding as soon as possible. Of course, he will need 51% of the shares of the Zheng Group as a dowry. Mr. Zhen, rising to his feet, exclaimed that it was already too much and moved his eyebrows to his nose. Wang Zichuan, smiling, replied that there was no at all, and besides them, they have no one who could help the company. And yet, if it is on her account, 40% of at least which they can go to. Zheng Qi asked the young guy when exactly she said that she would be facing him. Father asked her to calm down because she did not follow her tongue at all. The girl immediately got up from a chair and exclaimed that she was talking and doing and would not marry him. She headed for the exit and said that from that moment on, one would go along her path. Zheng Qi called Mu Chenfan and asked to meet. She explained where she would wait for him. The girl had already approached the hotel and decided to wait for him there, taking the shower. She clearly decided that from this moment she would rely only on herself. The girl went to the table on which the phone was lying since there was a call. Brother called her and said that she had cut off their lives. Zheng Qi explained that she knows what she was doing. He asked if she was going to meet Mu Chenfan. The girl explained that with whom she would not go to meet, this is not his mind. I did not have time to finish with her brother as they knocked on the door and asked to open. The main character appeared on the threshold. Seeing the girl, he asked if she had just come out of the shower. She began to get him inside the room. The boy went to the window and opened the curtains. He asked if he did not object to him that the interested side has a wrong impression. Zheng Qi agreed if he was so comfortable and asked to drink with her. The girl immediately knocked over a glass of wine. Mu Chenfen also took a glass and asked if she was thinking. Zheng Qi said she could give him 10% of the shares. Then the protagonist asked if she made such a decision. This girl approached him and knelt down. She replied that all this is not without his help. Mu Chenfen said that he should help her get control of the Zheng family and asked them to resolve the crisis of the Zheng group. And for this, he will receive only 10% of the shares, which sounds very tempting. Zheng Qi began to take off his jacket and asked what would happen if she adds herself to the balance. Mu Chenfen called her crazy and asked what she was going to do. The girl continued to take off her clothes and added that with his consent of the action, and she would be all his. The main character, looking at Zheng Qi, exclaimed that she was clearly playing with fire, but she did not let him finish and pulled him to her kiss. The girl said that she really plays with fire. When he was lying over her on the couch, he began to talk about 20% and no less. Zheng Qi smiled in response and blushed a little bluish that they had agreed on everything. Meanwhile, there was already night outside and bright stars flickered, lighting everything around. Mu Chenfen, when he began to dress, said that she did not say that this was her first time. Then the girl asked, "Really?" She looked like a slutty woman once he thought so. The boy asked whether her father knew about it. Zheng Qi replied that of course not, and she no longer entrusts them with any hopes. She turned to the main character and asked him not to forget that he promised. Mu Chenfen turned away from her and picked up the phone in his hands. Suddenly, the girl approached him again. She hugged him from behind and clinging to her back asked to stay here for the night. The protagonist in response kissed Zheng Qi and pressed her, gently hugging her. Meanwhile, Mr. Zheng began to call someone. The recruited number was unavailable. The man apologized and explained to his partners that this young lady was still immature. Wang Zichuan, smiling, replied that everything was in order and they could chat another time. The guys began to get up from the table and each scattered about his business, heading for the exit. Wang Zichuan smiled maliciously that the conditions would no longer be the same. Mr. Zheng was very upset and squeezed his teeth with his eyebrows to his nose. He held the phone in his hands and they told him that 2 billion had just been transferred. Meanwhile, the gloomy suburb of Yuzhou spread out before us. A contented girl sat with her foot on her foot. When the money was on the account, she decided that it was time to work. The guy came up to her and asked Cici if she was sure about the attack on Mu. Then the girl explained that Mu Chenfen is all that the family has. The guy Mu Zhou was the acting leader of the White Lotus sect. He explained to Cici that because of him, they had already lost 2 of his guards. The company hunted them from Yangbei to Yuzhou. They do not even know if the leader is their sector. Cece explained to the guy that without money their hands are greatly connected. She asked if he had a better idea. Mi Ju replied that he did not consider it a wise decision to provoke Mi Chenfeng. Cece asked the current leader not to forget her promise. If he cannot lead the White Lotus sect properly, then it will certainly kill him. And then the next day came. Mu Chenfen could not understand what a huge change, and he barely copes with them. The boy took the phone in his hands and thought about something serious. His gaze rushed somewhere forward at one point. He thought that Mu did not have the opportunity to protect himself. And first he needs to return to the company. A service company, which was illuminated by a bright sun, rises in front of us. There was the main character in the room who approached the guy who calmly drank coffee. When he saw Mu Chenfeng, he was delighted to return to the office. He asked if the guy was exhausted last night. Then the main character intensely asked if this man watched him. The man replied that nothing would pass by the company and asked him not to worry because Xiao Pan did not know. Mu Chenfen told this guy that the White Lotus sect plans to harm his family. He wants the company to send its people right away. The guy answered the main character that they are nominated this morning. The room included several men in the caps who greeted them and called themselves the planned cleaning service. The boy asked if they were taking a fee for this. The man sitting at the table took his head with his hand. He explained that the company's duty to ensure security for members of the family of their employees, and they can completely trust them. Mu Chenfen asked where Xiao Pan and where she went. The guy replied that he was without a concept, and she left the company to recognize the details about his father's flight. The main character got up from his chair and exclaimed that things were bad. He asked when his father landed. The guy looked at his watch and answered, judging by time, he should already go home. But he may be sure that the company sent someone after him. Mu Chenfen said that his father is definitely the main goal of the White Lotus sect. Meanwhile, the car raced along the main street of the city. Xiao Fan and a man sat in him. The girl asked how everything went and whether everything was smooth. But instead of stories, he wanted to express his gratitude about it, because without her, he could not return. Xiao Pan blushed a little, blushing that he was too kind to her, and it was Mu Chenfen who organized all this. The man asked not to talk about him because he actually knows what his son is. The girl wanted to continue, but he stopped her again. The man explained that it was much more interesting to know how they met together. Xiao Fan began to explain that this happened due to a strange combination of circumstances at that time. The car sharply turned right and the driver was excited enough. He asked to be careful because there is clearly someone here. He saw a car that wanted to cut off their way. Really, they arrived faster than it was actually expected, and they can be at a dead end. The driver asked the guys to stay stronger since he decided to shake them and press the gas pedal. He turned on time, and the car that rushed after them did not fit into the turn. Are they trying to surpass him in driving? The man exclaimed that they had not yet sucked milk on their lips and called them shorties. Meanwhile, a motorcycle on which the girl was sitting appeared next to the car that did not fit into the turn. It was Cece, and she asked if they were still trying to run. The car with Xiao Fan and the father of the protagonist stopped, after which the driver came out the first and asked them to leave. The girl asked her uncle to be careful. Cece had already caught up with them and took off her helmet from her head. She asked if he was thinking that he could stop her. The man asked who she was and said that he did not think that there was some kind of enmity between them. Xiao Pan explained to the man that they were from the White Lotus sect, and they are here in order to kill them. Cece began to approach them and asked not to blame her. She said that Mr. Zhen paid them 2 million for his head. She had nothing to do with it, and must blame herself for the fact that she does not put her nose where she should not. Xiao Pan crossed her arms over her chest and exclaimed, looking at the girl, that Wu had never been afraid of threats. She was very seriously configured and blushed a little, blushing her eyebrows to her nose. Suddenly, she began to call Xiao Hu and said that if he did not seem, she would not talk with him anymore. Around there were black cars from which several healthy guys got out. They began to approach the crowd where such serious showdowns took place now. One of the healthy men told the girl that they finally met her again. Cece was not afraid of a drop, but asked if he could stop her with these miserable thugs. One of the guys gave a command to the eldest brother to rush on the attack, and the rest should bring Xiaofan from a dangerous zone. The guys exclaimed that perhaps they lost vigilance, but this time she would not leave them. The girl took to the air as high as possible and said, smiling maliciously, that this was a pretty good joke. The guy exclaimed that her spiritual weapon was definitely impressive, but it is useless if it could not strike. Uncle explained to Cece that they squeezed her and now see how she would cope with this. The girl said that she did not expect a lesser from the gifted students of the righteous sect, And this is pretty good. One of the guys squeezed his fists and noticed that she exclaimed in the air that she had nowhere to go. The second, seeing the danger, asked his younger brother to be very careful and not rush. The girl skillfully dodged and directed all her strength towards the enemy, calling him a fool. He fell to his knees and a stream of blood began to flow out of his mouth. He considered it a rather low act. Meanwhile, Uncle directed all his abilities against the demoness and asked her not to dare to run away. Cece smiled again with a malicious, impudent smile and exclaimed that they were too weak. And now another blow fell right in his uncle's chest and he grabbed his heart by his heart. He said that she has the energy of the late stage and they definitely lost. The guy turned to the girl and asked Xiaopan to immediately run away. But Cece again directed all her forces against the opponents and exclaimed that no one would hide from her. Xiaofan began to run away and in fright and asked Mu Chenfeng to save her. The boy exclaimed, suddenly appearing that he was trying to stay away from the White Lotus sect. He began to approach the demoness and asked how she dared to harm his family at all. Cece replied that the White Lotus sect works for those who pay. If he wants to blame someone, then let him blame the family of Zhens. Mu Chenfen prepared for the attack and exclaimed that he would cope with her at first, and then with that family. The uncle held on to his wounded hand and asked the guy to be careful since her flying needles are deadly. Mu Chenfen replied that this was just low-level weapons and she does not know how to use it. The boy directed all his strength against the demoness, and the bright yellow rays were already approaching the girl. Cece grimaced a little watching the enemy's gulp. She was surprised that he was at the first level. Mu Chenfen said that she understood it too late. She could not believe that given how scarce the mental energy in the summer he reached the first level. Cece wanted to run away, but the main character asked if he told her that she could go. The girl clenched her fist and decided to use needles for self-defense, but did not have time to do it. She began to run away as quickly as possible, and looking at the guy exclaimed that they would still meet with him. The blow of Mu Chenfeng fell on a huge brick wall and she fell apart into pieces. Meanwhile, a guy who watched what was happening stood on the roof. He considered low the first level in this wilderness, but after several millennia, he decided that this was a revival of spiritual energy. When the opponent was no longer dangerous, his father asked Mu Chenfeng whether he was his son, but the boy did not listen to him, but went to Xiaopan. He asked who allowed her to come. The girl lowered her gaze and replied that she did not know. He does not want to see her, and she knows that only Zhengqi in his heart. But she cannot say no to her heart. The guy's father could not understand what was happening. The girl began to run up to the man and calling him. His father began to cry a little, blushing. The man stroked the girl on the head and asked her not to worry since he would achieve justice. Mu Chenfen asked Xiaofan that she was trying to throw out again. The man called the protagonist a villain and raised his hand up to strike. Mu Chenfen told his father that this is not what he had just thought about. But his father asked if they taught him to be so irresponsible. He always taught him to be a pure heart, and now sees that he did not learn anything. The boy continued to explain that this is not what he thinks. Xiaopan turned away, smiled, and talked about what was his meeting with that girl. Father called his son impudent, because if he became strong and his blows could not be harmful to him, at least the appearance that he was painful. Mu Chenfen listened to him and said that he really was painful, asking him to stop hitting him. The man asked the girl not to worry, because if this impudent dares to offend her again, he will teach him a lesson. Xiaopan hugged the man by the hand and called him the best. Not that some blind to her feelings. Mu Chenfen asked the girl to stop immediately. If she continues to manipulate it, he will lose control. The girl began to cry again and told her father that he was screaming at her again. Father exclaimed, approaching his son, that this villain needed a lesson and asked him to immediately apologize to her. The main character leaned in front of the girl and asking for forgiveness that he was cruel. Father went to his son and asked what he was doing, calling him careless. He asked his son allowed his future daughter-in-law to find out about it. Mu Chenfen replied that they were just friends. Father said that he understood everything because his son was beautiful, rich, and good in a fight. He just did what golden youth often does, and he also went through it. But the son should clearly understand who he should take in his wives. He is now an adult and has his own concepts. He will not intervene in his personal life and asks only to safety in the first place. Mu Chenfen asked his father to forget about it and believe what he wanted. He cannot explain everything to him. Then his father asked him to do what he wanted, but he still chose Xiaopan as a future daughter-in-law. He pulled his hand to the girl and asked to go home. Xiaofan told her father that she had heard from his son that he likes Chinese chess, and she wants to play with him when he was at home. Mu Chen-fen looked after her and thought that he did not say this, and this girl invents everything on the go. The main character approached one of the guys and said that he wants to learn something from him. But the guy replied that he knew nothing, and even if he knows, he still would not say. Mu Chen-fen called him a child, and was not at all surprised that Xiaopan does not love him. The guy in response asked him to leave and said that he did not want to see him, and he was very annoying him. Mu Chen-fen said that he could pay for him and he knows who he said now. The guy replied that he had joined the company and why he was asking him once have access. Mu Chen-fen explained that given the history of the company, it is not very convenient to dig deep. Then the guy asked him to stop being a hypocrite, because he would not have entertained him if it were not for Xiaopan. Then the main character asked him to think about this proposal and put the pebble on the ground. After that, he directed this stone towards the pillar and the metal pillar was pierced through. Mu Chen-fen asked if he would listen to him and will do as he asks. The guy replied that he would think about it. But the main character exclaimed, approaching him with a blow that he wanted to ignore him at first. But stupid and annoying incorrigible. Then the guy asked not to drink him and promised to do everything he would ask. He realized that his eyes were in time for a blow. The body does not have time. Suddenly, a guy from another sect appeared and tried to strike. Mu Chen-fen clenched his fist and asked the alien who he was. The guy took off his hood and said that this was what he expected from Mu Chen-fen. Cece really stupid once chose him as an enemy. The guy introduced himself as Muzhou, the acting leader of the White Lotus. Mu Chen-fen called him a White Lotus garbage and said that he was always persistent and if he had come, Muzhou approached a couple more meters and asked the protagonist not to understand him incorrectly since he was not an enemy for him. He put his hand forward and threw the guy a paper with an address. He explained that if you speak directly, they are in the same boat. Mu Chen-fen with one deft movement of his hand caught this business card and began to peer into it. The address was written on it, and he asked what kind of address it was. The guy explained that Cece was going there, and the one he was looking for there too. How can he trust him if he simply handed over his accomplice? Muzhou explained that he had enough reasons to believe that this address is a trap. Honestly, even in a White Lotus, they are divided into several groups. The first group is radicals under the leadership of Cece. They think that he is an obstacle to everyone who wants to kill him. On the other hand, he believes that they can cooperate. The White Lotus was separated from the world for too long, and they need a visionary like him. The guy explained that the enemy of his enemy is his friend, and from that moment, they are in the same boat. He asked the protagonist to consider this address with a gesture of friendship, and he hopes that he would not betray his trust. Muzhou already wanted to say goodbye to Mu Chen-fen, but suddenly the main character directed all his forces against him. With one blow, he led his enemy to the ground and he flew down, turning down. Muzhou did not expect such a turn and asked why he was doing this. Will he really fight with a White Lotus, after which he asked not to bring them to a complete mutual intensification? Mu Chen-fen asked whether the guy really thinks that he could now kill him. He was so ranting, and when he finished, he decided to dump and he said that he could leave. Muzhou was sitting on the asphalt on one knee and looking at the protagonist asked what he was up to. The guy continued to say that only the strong can achieve a place in the sun, and he needs both strength and support. Mu Chen-fen replied that the sewage rat was trying to convince him as if she wasn't equal to him and who he was at all. Muzhou lowered his gaze down and thought that whether it was the strength or support of this guy and everything surpasses him, and he is in complete despair. The guy folded his hands in front of the main character and admitted that it was careless on his part, but he still wants to be an ally. If he agrees, then in the next meeting he will tell him the secret transmitted in a White Lotus through a generation. This is the secret of exhaustion of spiritual energy. They both want to revive the spiritual energy of this world. In the end, they converge here. Muzhou turned his back again and wanted to leave. Mu Chen-fen asked Li he allowed him to leave. He said that the guy attacked him as soon as he came and it was rather rude. His time is precious, and he is a busy person because of which he even missed dinner. His salary, stress, transport, food. He needs about 10 million to cover it all. He is the current leader of the White Lotus and should be with money. Muzhou asked not to put pressure on him. Mu Chen-fen answered smiling that if he does not want to pay, then everything is in order and he can just join the company. Then the guy turned to face him and threw a map at him. He asked to take her. He invited the protagonist to the company for tea and said that he could pass the rest of the White Lotus. The company is proud of its service, the experience that they provide the roofing, and is sure that after that he will even get bored with them. Muzhou explained that the map that he gave him no pin code and they would still see himself. The comrade, who stood nearby, told the main character that he was thinking too much about money and why did he need this trifling amount if he has so much money. Mu Chen-fen replied that he does not understand anything and the shares of the family are flying up. Therefore, these 10 million will become 30 tomorrow. He turned around and left and said that someday they would drink tea. And then the next day came. A high residence has spread before us. Mu Chen-fen stood on the roof watching the girl. He thought that this was expected from a born student of Tao. Only a couple of days passed and it is almost a master. But there are still shortcomings in her movements and, in addition, Julin is too soft. If she were more tough, she could compete with the craftsman. The young master is incredible and she should work better to stay at the level. Mu Chen-fen went to the girl from behind and said that her movements were a little unclear. He asked to follow his aura. Smoothly, the current aura itself directs her sword and needs to go with a stream, since it will manifest itself. Yulin replied that she was too slow, he explained to her, but she did not grab. Mu Chen-fen answered the girl that she had just begun cultivation if she studies so quickly. Then she is not just a genius, but a monster. Many after so much time cannot achieve this phase, and it should not perceive everything so seriously. Yulin exclaimed that she did not want to be a monster, but wants to be with him forever. The master explained that when she becomes strong, they will be able to travel to all corners of the world. Yulin promised to work even more diligent and asked where he wanted to go. Mu Chen-fen replied that where he had a place in the world completely different from this, it is majestic, bright, and colorful, but also very dangerous. Yulin promised, despite the dangers, to be with her master. The money was very bright and colorful. People walked the streets. The new car rushed along the highway. The guy walked along the road and told his mother that he definitely did everything right and this villain is having fun here with Julin. He called him a fool, looking at the roof of the building. He exclaimed that the guy is worthy of only such cheap entertaining. The woman asked to finish it rather with this since every second for her is like torture. Mu Chen-fen said that he was actually happy and she was very progressed. If she is engaged yet, he is sure that she will become even better in this. The girl completely agreed with her master and said that she would make him happier the next time. The woman was shocked that they were discussing this in the light of day and called it shamelessly. She exclaimed that they were here and the guys did not even invite them inside and why they treat the elders so much. After all, none of the Mu family would be so inhospitable. Mu Chen-fen replied that he did not see any of the elders here, but he would have gone in their place where they came from because they were not happy here. Yulin asked Madame and the young master to sit down and it doesn't matter what they can talk inside. Mu Chen-fen replied for them that they had nothing to talk about and these people here are exclusively because of the shares. The woman said that the master had returned and if he knows his place, he must obediently transfer his shares, otherwise it will be bad. The boy asked that he would have laughed differently, as if they were rotten shrimp can harm him. The guy who came asked not to be so arrogant because he has 100 options how to destroy his life. He called him an illegitimate son of their jealous wealth, and he is no one except the son of a poor servant. If in his veins the blood of Mu had not, he would not even have the right to stand in front of him. Before he had time to finish, as Yulin immediately soared in the air and approached the enemy. With all her might, she hit him with her hand on her cheek and she flashed with fiery color. He asked how she dares to beat him, and who she was at all. How can she beat him because of this scoundrel and her mother is still working for them? The girl again hit him on her cheek and asked to intimidate as much as he wanted. But he should not talk about the young master. She would not let him go just like that. The guy blushed from blows and went to his mother. He began to complain and said that this girl was beating him. The woman told the main character that he is the son of Mu, the future heir to the Mu family. She asked how he dared to kill her son and threatened that he would not get away with him. Mu Chen-fen did not expect to see this side of Julin. He realized that his efforts paid off. He really knows that this guy is rightfully the heir. The protagonist took him by the scruff and exclaimed that it was time for both of them to leave. The woman reminded the guy that it was the 16th floor and asked what he was going to do. She exclaimed that murder is a crime. Mu Chen-fen, smiling in response, said that he was helping them to get home and asked to stay stronger. He lifted them into the air and with them began to approach the window, jumping out of it. The woman began to scream that she did not want to die. Mu Chen-fen asked them not to worry because they are safe. The main character asked the guy standing by the car to hand over the older master to follow them. He threatened if they once again get him no longer to be so merciful. The man immediately agreed and told the guy that he would definitely give his message. He could not understand a person at all, this guy, as he jumped from the 16th. This is the same. The man decided that he was in a dream or the world was crazy. Yulin went to her teacher and asked if they were in order because it was too high. The main character asks the girl not to worry. Maybe they will have nightmares, but they will not touch them anymore. Mu Chen-fen opened the car door and asked the girl to travel home because he still has business. He got into the car, and Yulin remained on the road to see him off. The main character asked the driver to go to the street of the Yellow Dragon 32. He improved thousands of years, saw countless plans of the villains, but in the face of real power, they all turn into children's jokes. Mijo can give him an address, but he is only trying to use it to eliminate his enemies. Mu Chen-fen looked through the window and thought that in a White Lotus, there were only rotten people. Mr. Jung went to the girl and said that she promised to correct their crisis while they were paying. He asked how she generally fulfills her duties. The girl explained that the company stands behind the MU family. This is a strong nut and she needs more time. The man came closer and asked who would give them this time. The guy asked not to think that everyone would indulge her only for beautiful eyes. He put his hand on the girl's leg and said that the Jung family survived heavy losses and how she was going to compensate for them. Perhaps she wants to do it in kind. Then the girl asked her hip to the touch. Mr. Jung stopped this guy pushing him away from the girl and asked if he wanted to die. The guy answered his father that she was just a woman, and when this woman turned the family of Jung's family, father apologized to the girl because this impudent does not know what he was doing. He asked him to forgive him for rudeness, but the girl smiling asked this guy as her body to his touch. Let's get back 3 weather. She cried in bed and talked about the fact that she had never left him since childhood, and he was like her father. She continued to cry and say that she does not understand why the leader of the sect did it with her. The man replied that the White Lotus sect has existed for centuries. Doesn't she know that the only duty of the saint is to please the leader? The girl began to ask why he chose her, and why it should be. Why did he break her beautiful fantasies? The man grabbed her hair and asked to calm down because it was only one night. He hit her with his fist in the face and added that there would be more nights and she would get used to it. She did not stop crying and asking why he chose her and why it should be. The man grabbed her by the throat and replied that this was because she was beautiful. And why would he still keep her here? Her parents bequeathed to take care of her before death. He rarely makes promises, but always keeps them and will take care of her in different senses. The girl asked the guy to raise her head and asked whether she was beautiful and whether he wanted her. She threatened that he would die if she did not answer. The guy looking at her exclaimed that she was very beautiful, but he has no other thoughts. To himself, the guy decided that this woman was terrible, and the flaws would rub from one glance. The girl said that the man is calm before such a beauty as she looks, and it looks like the young Master Jung does not find her so attractive. Mr. Jung replied that he would like to pacify her anger of 100 millions and asked him to let his son go. Then the girl asked whether she worthy of only this amount, and why are they such a low opinion about her? The man began to offer the girl a whole billion. He asked to let his son go. She turned around, exclaimed to tell his son to keep his hands with him near her. Then she turned around and directing her strength in their direction asked to stop doing such stupid acts. With one deft movement, she hit the guy right between her legs and he screamed in pain. The man exclaimed in horror that she could not hold back her word, and she promised not to kill him. The girl said that she said as if she would not kill, but did not say that she would not teach him a lesson. She asked not to worry because he would not die from that. The guy will lose half of joy in life. The man asked what she meant and does she really say that his son could never have children. Mu Chen-fen, observing from the side, realized that this demoness was merciless and it seems to Jung Bei is now eunuch. He turned his head towards the approaching car, and he was interested in who came to such a darkness in this outback. A car drove up to the room and a girl came out of it. She found a location on the phone of Jung Bei. The girl decided that her father should also be here, and she should achieve his goal despite the price. She clearly decided that the Jung family should only be her, and began to approach the door. A man in a hood approached the guys and told the saint that some woman was outside. Then she turned to him and asked her to teach him everything. She gave the team just getting rid of her. She accidentally lit up the tablet and the man saw the image. He went to the girl and asked not to touch her, because in the photo his daughter. Then, the woman crossed her arms over her chest, exclaimed that Mr. Zheng could not keep secrets. When the girl went in, she explained that her father was not guilty here. Still, she is the daughter of Zhen's, and tracking someone is not so difficult. The woman told Mr. Zhen that she was careful, but straightforward, and copes much better than his son. The man went to his daughter and hit her on her cheek, asked, "Who asked her to come here at all, and doesn't she understand that it was very dangerous?" The girl took her hand by the cheek and answered her father that she knew what she was doing. She is the eldest daughter of the Jung family and the future leader of the Jung group. Although she does not know who they are, He expects future cooperation. The girl extended her hand and offered to become their employees. Then they will give them 10% from their annual dividends. The woman in response introduced herself like a sissy, the holy sect of the White Lotus. She noticed that Miss Jen's proposal is really tempting. Cece added that she can kill all of them right now and pick up the assets for herself. The man asked not to joke, because the company of the White Lotus is rich and strong and why they need their pennies. But if she thinks that their proposal is reasonably hopes that she can work with the White Lotus sect, the man again went to his daughter and struck her cheek, exclaimed that her younger brother was wounded. He asked him to take him and fail from here while he was kind, not to feel his patience. Miss Jung grabbed her cheek with her hand and said that he still does not believe in it simply because she is a woman. She bowed her head and answered her father that she understood everything and would do as he said. The younger Jung hid his sister by his power and asked what she was dragging. The family fed her for 20 years and she treats him like that. The girl lowered her gaze and, agreeing with her brother, said that she would quickly deliver him home. She was very angry and pulled out a sharp long knife from behind the bosom. The girl exclaimed that if he dies, her father would pay more attention to her. He will not look at her anymore. Father saw this, began to scream. He could not understand why she does this with her brother. Cece clapped her hands and said that it was very decisively and unshakable. The girl exclaimed, looking at Miss Jen, that now she admires her. Miss Jung went to her father and said that now she is his only child and she is better than Jung Bei. He just needs to trust her and transfer her family, and again, she will never disappoint him. Cece asked her sister to join the White Lotus because here she will shine even brighter. The father asked the Holy to suspend their partnership a little for a while, since he needed to take his family home. Cece showed the man on the door and said that they could go, and this girl would remain. Mu Chen-fen, looking at what was happening, decided that it was not good, and they would not let Zheng-Qi go just like that. He would not get involved in other circumstances, but now she is his woman. The main character faced Cece and asked her to stop. The family has just lost her son, and she also wants to pick up her daughter. Does she really want to kill Mr. Jen? He asked to leave him a little hope. Cece answered Mu Chen-feng that she had not yet come after him, and he himself came. She asked whether he came to kill them. The boy replied that he had no other choice. He and Mr. Zhan always bring his family to the family, and he is the only one who can fight and who, if not he. Cece asked if he decided to get rid of them, the novices of the White Lotus. Can he kill such a beautiful woman like her? Mu Chen-fen replied that there was no, and she didn't understand everything. Now he is in the company and he needs to follow their rules. Mr. Zheng spent billions to hire it and added another 1.5 more. This amount is now his, same as she is. He has no interest in such small divisions. He suggested going to the company for tea and ending this business in order to move on. Cece raised her hand up and asked what would happen if she said that he would not get either her or money. She asked to look at her guys. If it gives the command to go all for one, then he will not stand it. Mu Chen-fan grabbed the weapon in his hand and exclaimed that rotten shrimp, such as they did not dare to attack him. He waved his sharp sword, and the flow of energy was directed in her direction. The girl froze in anticipation of his blow and decided to resist her enemy. Mu Chen-fen suggested thinking longer. She arranged an ambush on them in the middle of a white day, and in the evening he found her. It doesn't matter how good the company is, but they would not have found it so quickly. Cece realized that this was Mijo. Mu Chen-fen explained to the girl that it was Mujo that gave him her address. Obviously tries to use it and get rid of it. She was smart and of course would not want everything to turn so. The boy suggested listening to him and go to the company with him. If she answers his question, he will free her. Cece exclaimed that he was a victim here, their leader right behind him, and let him not say that he will let him go. Maybe his son is dead, but he still has a daughter. He received the highest punishment, and he will no longer lead the group of Zheng. His children tried to kill each other, and what punishment could be more significant than this? So said the main character and looked at Zheng-Qi. Cece said that it was quite impressive. He gained control over MU and conglomerate Zheng so easily, and even joined the company. He has both people and money in a tenacious grip. And if Mr. Zheng had at least half of his abilities, his son did not finish like that. At least now his offer sounds like the best. She would have acted stupidly continuing to fight. Cece asked to go to Yuzhou her people and behave quietly until she is not, after which he will wait for her return. Cece asked the protagonist what would happen to them and asked if she would leave them like that. Mu Chen-fen replied that their family has now collapsed and they need to give time. The man sat over his son's body and told his daughter that he did not give her control because he wanted to protect her. If she enters his place, she will meet with a cruel world and dangerous people. Zhengqi answered her father that she knew what she wanted and knows who she wants to become. From the very beginning, everything that she did in order to prove to him that she was standing and doing it for him and her. Father exclaimed that he told her that there was a whole flock of hungry wolves. Although he has power and wealth, he is still like on needles and at every moment awaits the worst. The first thought with which he wakes up, not how much money he will earn, but how many mouths he must feed. Mr. Zheng said that if he did not feed them, they will tear him and their two too. What else can he do? He can only protect his family and his children. He knows very well how better she is than Zheng Bei, but it would be too cruel to demand this from her. Maybe Bei was not strong, but he was pretty cruel. He would have no problems with protecting the family, and he would be calmer if the family passed to him. Well, now everything is gone, and he was never in greater despair than now. The girl fell to her knees next to her father and asked him to believe in her, since she would not disappoint. Mr. Zheng exclaimed that nothing more matters and now he has nothing to do with it. He will tell everyone that his son died in a car accident and gives her his entire share. What else can he do in this case? Because they are both of his flesh and blood, he is a complete insignificance like a father. Zhengqi, in response, promised to bring the group to the top. Father said that now she is on its own and he has only one last advice for her. She asks to be close to Mu Chenfam. Even if only as a lover, he will protect her all his life and he has nothing more to say. The man took the body of his son and carried it forward to the exit to give him his due. Mu Chenfen asked the girl to drive. He explained that he needed to return to the company. He wanted to give a girl himself. She answered badly that he was better to leave first. She explained to the main character that she needed to be alone and looked after the leaving cars. Cece said Mu Chenfan that Zhengqi is still his woman, no matter what, but he just leaves her. She called him rather heartless. Mu Chenfen replied that she did not understand anything and this girl is a solid blade and will take care of herself. Her pride does not allow her to seek comfort, and from her words he understands that Cece never fell in love. Then the girl asked what a lot is from the men, and she relies completely on herself. He said that he needed her advice and she is interested in what he wants to ask. Mu Chenfen said that the spiritual energy is scarce here and asked what happened on this planet. The girl looked into his eyes, exclaimed that he was saying that he needed her answer. She again asked the question of what he wanted to ask. Then the kid asked her eyes that actually was here. The black car raced at full speed in the evening along the street. There was the main character with a girl. Caesars, in a dissatisfied voice, told the guy that the sects Longhu, Wooden, and Xinchen know about this secret. The girl could not understand why the guy asked her. Mu answered the partner that the White Lotus is an ancient sect with a rich heritage. She must be informed about this. The guy could not believe that his companion did not know the answer. Caesars, in a thoughtful voice, told the guy that the Lotus sect does not know much about this matter. The main character from his place told the girl that she should tell him everything that she knows. He promised her to keep his promise. Sissy led the car. She told the guy that the White Lotus sect was a refuge. After that, the sect revealed this secret to 1,400 years ago. The girl told the guy that 2,000 years ago, a righteous man named Zhang Daolin was awarded immortality and left Azuria. But once he returned to Kunlun when he destroyed the Dragon Vein, Sissy told the main character, which at first seemed that everything was in order. The fluctuations of mental energy were very noticeable. But 2,000 years later, people can hardly achieve the capture of Qi. The protagonist, in a thoughtful voice, told the girl that the sin of fault of the dragon's veins is unforgivable. The heavenly princess would never allow him to do this. He did not understand why the warrior took such a risk. Sissy drove the guy that the sect has only this. If the main character wants an answer, he must go to the righteous sect. There is a longer story. The car drove up to the large building. The girl asked the guy if he wants her to enter or he would spend her. The main character opened the door and went out of the car. He told the girl that he would spend her. Mu, accompanied by their companion, entered the hall of a large building. Hu went down to them. Mu pointed a finger at the girl and told the employee that next to him was the saint from the White Lotus sect named Li Sisi. Hu answered the guy that Mr. Lu had already sent a report to North Yang's. The employee took the girl's hand. He promised her that he would deliver her to the right place. The main character laid his hand on the employee's shoulder. He told Hu to stop and explained that the girl came to him of her own free will. The employee led the girl's hand to the exit. The main character shouted to him that nothing needs to be used against Sisi. She surrendered herself. Hu turned around and reminded the guy that he was waiting in the office. He should not force himself to wait. The main character walked along the corridor of a large office. He was heading to the office. The main character went into the office and went to the table. He apologized to the president for forcing himself to wait. Lu poured tea from a teapot into a cup. The president asked the guy if he would go to his home or to the young Miss Jen. Ma sat in a chair. He told the man that he notices every small detail. The owner, in a cunning voice, told the main character that he is their interns. They will follow him. Lu handed the main character a folder with documents. He said that Taoist Master Xuanlin is the head of the righteous sect. He celebrates the 100th birthday this year. The company wants to send a guy there. The main character held out his hands forward to take the documents. He reminded his partner that the sect was not on their territory and asked why they should go there. Mu carefully read the documents. He learned that there is even a medium among people in the sect. Li told the guy that all these people are very influential. They find among the famous families of the Dragon Nations and will arrive at a grand event. The president at the table looked at the guy and said that the main goal of their company is the world in the territory. Northern Yang is also confident in his combat skills. Mu jumped to his feet and went to the table. He asked the president with interest, would he really have permission to fight? Li looked at the guy with interest and said that no one would stop him if he wanted to fight. The man in a strict voice reminded the guy so that he would not cross the line. Any threat of life is prohibited. The guy slyly asked the president if he could cripple fighters but not to kill anyone. Li prepared to drink tea from a cup. He told the guy that the company strictly prohibits the murders. The main character in a chair in a dissatisfied voice told the president that he was losing a lot if he agrees on this trip. The man poured tea into his cup. He told the guy that he should forget about payment. Li at the table told the main character that the company would help him choose the best workers to manage business Mu. The man told the guy that the girl Xiaopin helps him, but she is not the best option for him. The main character stood on his feet near the table. He told the president that he would go in a couple of days. The guy turned and prepared to leave. He told the president that employees should report the report after 3 days by the MU group. In the house in the residence, there was a chic interior. A man with a guy was sitting in the living room. The owner said that Zhenbei died in a car accident. The man held a glass of wine in his hands. He told the guy that internal intelligence reported that Bei was dead from stab wounds. The partner answered the owner that all this was only a matter of time. The guy held a glass of wine in his hands. He said that the Zhen family is clearly wrong. The man told his partner that all this was a strong blow to Zhen. The man put everything into his son, and as a result, everything disappeared. The guy jumped to his feet. He said with excitement that he would visit the Zhen family tomorrow. For a girl, Qi, someone is needed for comfort. The man opened a bottle of expensive alcohol. He said that the girl, Qi, will now control her family. The owner poured wine to the guy in a glass. He told him a joyful voice that when he gets the hearts of Qi, the whole group of Zhen will belong to him. The man poured his son's drink into a glass. The guy told his father that he wants a girl to belong to him. The son with the excitement said that he wants to get a girl and a group of Zhen. The next day, the guy arrived in his car for Villa Zhen. The guest in a suit went to the girl and said that he was upset by the situation with Bei. He explained to his partner that she should take care of herself. The guy held out his hand to Qi and invited her to meet in the evening and drink a couple of glasses. She could speak out. The girl explained to her partner that she was not in her mood yet and asked him to call her a complete name. Qi told the guests that they could enter. The main character came up with his companion. Mu carefully looked at the guy opposite, and he seemed suspicious to him. He looked at the protagonist and asked displeasedly, why did he come here? The main character explained to his partner that he came here to express condolences. The guest told the main character that he had recently captured the group of Mu and became close to the girl Wu. Su explained to his partner that he himself was surprised at his success. He added that Miss Mu refuses to leave his house. The guest told the main character displeasedly so that he would not expect his luck would last. He will not be able to pester the girl Qi, only because he is very close to Wu. The guy angrily told the main character to forget about the proximity to the girl of Qi. Mul in a cunning voice asked the guest, did he really like Qi so much? The guest looked at the girl and said that she was perfect for him and they are a good couple. The guy angrily looked at the protagonist from the side and said that he was in the vertices, and he has not a gram of mind. Mu approached the guy and in a cunning voice said that he wanted to tell him the secret. The main character whispered to the surprised partner that the girl has a special mole on the inside of the thigh. Mu in a cunning voice told the guy next to him that he might think and he believes in him. Qi bowed to the guests and said that they could enter. The guy screamed and irritated and loudly that he no longer wanted to stay due to shame. The main character was sitting at the table. A girlfriend told him that the family never went well with Jezi. They did not need to come. Mu answered the girl that she needed to talk to Chi. Then they will immediately leave. The main character was sitting at the table and saw Chi approached him. Yulin stood nearby. Chi handed the guy documents and told him to sign everything. She prepared everything for him. The main character was holding documents in his hands. He asked strictly from the girl, did she really keep them at home? The main character held out his hand to the side and asked his companion a contract. Yulin handed him the documents. Mu extended the documents to the girl and asked her signature. She could get 10% from the share of the group. He told the guy that his share will be much larger than her, she clarified. Does Mu really want her to have such a share? The girl sat down at the table and prepared to sign the document. She told the guy that if she was as capable of as himself, then everything would not have turned in such a way. The main character got up and stepped aside. He said that one fine day he would go where he wants. It is better for the family to find a friend than to make an enemy. The hostess thought very much when she heard from the guy a word about a friend. The hostess turned and looked at the girl. She asked the protagonist, will Yulin now follow him all the time? Mu said in a confident voice that Yulin is an exceptional girl. Under his leadership, she grew strongly. He stepped aside. She told the main character in a dissatisfied voice that he is always very skilled with women. A man appeared on the side. He saw a guy with the girls at the table and headed for them. The full owner told the girl to go inside the house. He wanted to say something to the main character. Mu told his companion to wait for him in the car. Yulin answered the guy that she would do everything. The owner prepared to sit on a chair. He told the main character that he was impressed by his successes. The man told the main character that he would really like him to be his son. Mu looked at the owner and impatiently demanded that he quickly get down to business. The man turned to the side and looked after the leaving girl. He said that he would never want to abandon his father's status. The owner told the partner that he crossed the line many times to protect his family. He asked the guest to forgive the Jen family. The protagonist told the partner that if Zhoj did not go against him in the future, then he hopes for cooperation. The guy told the man that Chi had already signed a contract. He gave her 10% of the shares of the MU family. The owner told the guy that the girl from the Wu family was in love with him, and this is prudent. The man at the table promised the guy that while he himself was alive, the Jen family would not go against the Mu family. The main character turned around and prepared to leave. He told the man that this would be enough for him. The owner, goodbye, asked the guy not to break the heart of Ki. The guy answered cunningly to the man goodbye that he has a purely business relationship with his girlfriend now, and about the future, he cannot say anything. The main character went outside and headed for a car standing on the road. The main character in the car asked Yulin to give a message to Madam. He was ready to visit the sect of the righteous in a couple of days. He will also ask for access for the girl. The passenger smiled at the guy and said that she would follow his instructions. Jikin sat angry in a car. He took the phone in his hand and shouted that Mu showed great impudence. Ji also remembered himself about the girl of Ki. He wished her death. Ji called his acquaintance Zuni and asked him to kill someone without attracting attention. The guy at the computer asked by phone who dared to defeat the young Mr. Bath. Yimini Shun asked the partner on the phone, how could Mu Chenfen be infuriated? Jun listened to his partner and looked with great attention to the computer. The guy was surprised to notice that the main character was officially employed in the company. Shun told his partner that if they kill Mu, then the old man would lower his skin from him. The guy went to the balcony. Ji said in a dissatisfied voice that behind Mu is a whole company, and therefore he was so arrogant. After a small pause, Sun invited a friend to forget about all this. He reminded him that the company is very powerful. Even the righteous and wooden would not dare to cross the road. After a small pause, Ji promised his friend a 3 million reward in a strict voice. If he would take work no matter from the result, Ji promised the guy on the phone that he would lead the dragon sect for him, the actress from the Sakura Nation, next month. Sun shouted with the excitement of his partner that he was crazy about this actress. Zun sharply ran inside the house. He promised his friend that he would help him and wait for him next month in Yuzhou. The guy joyfully packed posters with girls in a suitcase. He shouted to his mother that he would go to the celebration of the birthday of the head of the righteous sect next month. Mother will stay at home with her father. The woman in the corridor shouted a reminder to her son to behave with dignity. The main character, accompanied by his girlfriend, arrived at the airport and prepared to fly away. Yulin asked his friend how much they would be absent. She recalled that the celebration would be next week, and now it was too early to fly away. Mu turned around and explained to the girl that although the celebration would be next month, Many began to go. The righteous also organized some kind of festival before birthday. It will not be superfluous to come early. Mu rolled a suitcase in front of him. He told the girl that the business class has fun. Someone stood behind the guy and watched. The protagonist carefully looked back. He told the girl that someone was already following them. Yulin must go to the landing gate with luggage. The main character went to the side. The girl asked him with excitement if the company would consider bad if they fight here. Mu turned around and with a smile told the girl that there would be no problems here. With a smile, he said that a stranger will not only not bring them problems, but also protect them from other troubles along the way. The stranger in the baseball cap stood and carefully looked in front of her. She was unhappy with her voice said that Mu was trying to get rid of her. The girl did not notice that the main character stood behind her. She still thought that she could catch him. The main character came up behind and asked the girl, how is she going to catch him? Wu was surprised to turn to him. The girl looked at the protagonist and said with the excitement that he found her. Mu explained to his partner that she could fill a tattoo on her forehead and write that she was looking for him. Mu explained to the girl that he was just chasing someone on a business trip. You do not need to follow it. The girl told the guy a displeased voice that she would go with him to celebrate her birthday. She recalled that she is a representative of the Wu family. Wu came up to the guy closely and said in a strict voice that they could disperse here in their paths. The main character hit the girl on the head. He told his partner that she could still follow him, so it will be safer. After that, the guy asked Wu to take him to her personal jet aircraft. Wu turned around and asked the guy displeasedly, how did he find out that she had her own plane? The main character took his girlfriend with his hands from behind and led forward. He said that a rich young lady must have a jet aircraft. Someone stood on the side and watched it. The fighter, very sad, said in a dissatisfied voice that the girl, Xiao, was getting farther away from him. The employee approached and handed the president in his hands a small box with napkins. He asked the president if they need to follow the girl to an airplane. The fighter displeasedly answered the subordinate that they cannot afford such an airplane. The main character, along with his companions, climbed the plane of the plane. Wu told the guy that her father would also visit the righteous sect. He wants to see him. Mu turned around and told the girl that she might not have warned him. Her father will not meet his future son. In law. Wu turned around and cunningly told the guy with a smile that that's why everything was. The girl told the main character that he should try to please her father. Wu in the cabin of the aircraft went to the sofa. She told the guy that they had not communicated with each other for a long time. The girl was sitting on the couch next to the guy and wanted to ask him for something. Mu answered his partner that he could give her everything except money. A girlfriend in a cunning voice told the guy that she wants to endure his child. Wu turned around and told the surprised guy that they should have children. Mu in surprise answered the girl that they were just friends and she already wants children. The girlfriend turned away and looked out the window. She told the surprised guy that they needed a child to switch to a new level of relationship. The plane flew in the sky. He was sitting on board the president with a subordinate. The employee consumed a chicken leg. He asked the president with a cunning voice, did he want to taste anything? The fighter answered his partner with displeasure to leave him alone. He was annoyed. The boss squeezed his hand. He turned around and asked the assistant if he lost a lot. The servant in a cunning voice told the president that he was weighed yesterday and gained 5 kilograms. In the righteous sect in a large building, the teacher sat in the room and was absorbed in the game. The old man was sitting on the couch with the phone. He played and shouted loudly. At this time, a servant came to him at this time. The old man continued to hold the phone in his hands and play very concentrated. The teacher noticed a message on the phone. It was blocked by the system. After that, the old man abandoned the phone with all his strength and broke the table. He was dissatisfied with the game and shouted that he would no longer play it. The servant turned the sheet. He prepared to read the elder to the list of guests of the Dragon Nation. These people will come to the holiday. The elder turned around and told the servant to leave the paper on the table. He will see her later. The guy put on the table. The old man said that Mu would come to him too. The elder said with interest that he was interested in what lightning will fly between Mu and the young from the Dragon Nation. He decided that the righteous sect is expected to revive. The old man demanded a warrior to give him the phone. The servant reminded the old man that he himself scolded the disciples and said that the phone affects his studies. The elder sharply pulled out a smartphone from the hands of a servant. He shouted that he was almost 100 years old and he had little time left for the game. The elder went out onto the balcony and carefully looked at the territory of the estate. He remembered to himself that the most holy Master Zheng was 2,000 years ago for a dragon vein. The old man did not know if the time that the ancient master was waiting for. The main character appeared on the street with his companions. The old man turned to the ancient master and asked him to give a revelation to his students. The main character walked along the territory of the estate with his companions. Wu told her friend that representatives of various families had already arrived here. Mu explained to the girl that the guests arrived before them as they pecked at a free dinner. He invited his girlfriend to approach the foot of the mountain and show respect. The main character carefully looked in front of him. He saw smoke over a small altar in front of the entrance to the temple. People continued to stay. Several guests knelt near the altar. Mu thought to himself that all this was very different from his idea of the respected sect. The main character turned around and told the girl that they were more likely in a tourist attraction. He did not know how to give tribute. Wu explained to the guy that the righteous sect has long been high in the ranking of the Dragon Nation. The elder of the sect is a master named Xuanyulan, already celebrates his 100th birthday. A lot of businessmen will come here. The girl pointed her hand to the side. She told the guy that it was there, that the real gates of the mountain of the righteous sect are located there. Mu turned around and looked carefully aside. He saw a warrior who waved his hands. There were people around. A passerby with the phone asked the warrior, "How old is he?" The fighter replied with a smile that he was more than 80 years old. Suddenly, the old man asked him not to be photographed anymore. He explained that the master could shout at him. The main character approached the side with the girls and introduced himself to the fighter. He said that they arrived to congratulate Swanlin on his birthday. The warrior pointed to the guests with his hand to the building. He told them in detail how to get to the gate of the mountain. The main character, along with the girls, went to the cliff. They saw ordinary logs in front of them instead of the bridge. Wu surprisedly directed her hand forward to the cliff and asked, "Was this a bridge?" Mu said in a reasonable voice that the sect established such a bridge to distance himself from the world. Ordinary people can only reach the front of the mountain. Only worthy can come to the end. The man ran a confident and quick step along the logs. He shouted that the students of the righteous sect, after the crossing of the bridge, received the right to train at the rear gate. The warrior stopped and turned to the girl. He told her to wait for him in the front room. He decided to visit the master. The main character told a girlfriend that he could take her to look at the mountain behind. Wu joyfully answered a friend that she first sees the bridge to the gate. She had never been here before. A new guest came up from the side. He told the main character with the girl that they should know their place. Jun told in a cunning voice that everyone in a row could not visit everyone. If there are many people, then the master will be terribly annoyed. The fighter thought to himself that the main character does not look special. The girl turned around displeasedly and shouted to the guy that she could go where she wanted. Mu turned around and told his girlfriend Yulin that she could go forward. They will catch her up soon. The main character turned around and told his girlfriend that she would not blame him if she falls from the cliff. Shun looked sly from the side. He thought that the death of a guy from a fall from a cliff would be a very good plan. Julia very quickly ran through the logs over the cliff and reached another shore. An unfamiliar guy in a white suit patted the girl and said that she had impressive achievements. Zhuge Tinfen was surprised to tell the girl that she was only 18 years old, but she is almost a master herself. Shun in a cunning voice told the partner that the girl could like, and she was only 18 years old. The guy was interested in the master of this girl. The main character turned around and told the guy that he could teach him if he wants. The guy grabbed his girlfriend in his arms and carried it forward. He shouted to people on a cliff that he could help them learn. They must ask him with a bow so that he is their teacher. Sun with a cliff in surprise asked the guy how old he was. He launched after him a small yellow ball. Jun angrily looked after the main character and said that the young should not have rolled. He wished the guy not to fall. The main character stood on a log and held the girl in her arms. A dense fog appeared above the cliff. Mu was surprised to examine the fog. He thought that in Azuria, there are still people who use the formation. He noted that the energy was thin, but the illusion was stable. The yellow ball flew over the abyss. A white fog emanated from it. Mu thought to himself that to create a formation needed an object with spiritual energy. His strength reached the limit. But this item can be useful for a girl. Ji turned around and was surprised to tell a friend that the guy suddenly stopped going. Shun angrily answered the partner that the main character could be scary. The protagonist quickly ran across Brevna and very quickly reached another shore. After crossing the cliff, Mu let his girlfriend go out of his hands and put her on the ground. The main character held a small yellow ball in his hands. He turned around and shouted to the guy that the yellow pearl will now belong to him. Jun put his hand forward and viciously demanded that the guy return the pearl back to him. Jun looked at the protagonist with his girlfriend. They stood on the opposite shore. Jun launched a small flying disc from his hands. Ju warned a friend that private guards are prohibited in the righteous sect. He will violate the rules if he starts a fight. The fighter jumped into a flying disc. He shouted to his companion that the people of Shima would not accept orders from the Zhuge family. Zun flew over a cliff on the disc. He decided to get to the protagonist. The main character walked up the stairs and held the phone in his hands. He could not understand why Shun was so hostile to him. The main character called his friend Hu. He asked him to break through the base for him sooner and find out who this warrior contacted. The girl walked along the stairs with the guy. She told him that something serious could happen here. Intuition told her that all this is calm in front of the storm. The main character told a girlfriend that the Dragon Nation has been preserving the world for years, but different parasites want to play the scene. But all this in the nature of people, and the girl should get used to this. Ma read messages on the phone and found out that Von Ki-jon called Zunya a couple of days ago. For him, this explained all. On the street, the guest stood on the street, and opposite him was a warrior in white clothes. The warrior came up and told the fighter Lin Chen that they had not seen each other for many years. Lin, with a smile, told the fighter that he could achieve more if he had not left the mountain. He advised the guest to apologize to the master. They will be able to stay on the mountain together this time. The guest told the old man with an exciting voice that it is very difficult for him to answer his own heart. The fighter demanded from the master to teach the main character a lesson for him. Lin reminded the guy that in this place the master does not allow battles. The guest handed the master a new model of the game console. He asked Lin to teach the main character a lesson. Lin answered his partner that he agreed with him. The old man told himself that the master would support the friendship with a young man from the Dragon Nation. The guest walked next to the master to the gates of the palace. He told him that the company of flying stars would deliver thunder trees a few days later. The main character, along with his girls, was in the guest room. The servant told the guests to feel at home. They are ready to fulfill all their wishes. A training arena is available in their free time. The girlfriend grabbed the guy by the hand and pulled along. She wanted him to take her. Mu turned around and said that Yulin would go with them. She could also learn something. Two warriors fought in the arena in the center of the estate. The girls stood on the balcony and watched them. Wu eats chips from packaging. She told the companion that the fighters were still not an equal to the main character. Yulin answered her girlfriend that the technique of fighters leaves much to be desired. They will need to go a long way to become masters. A fighter from the arena viciously shouted to the girl that he has been training for more than 20 years. But no one told him this before. The man viciously promised the girl that he could show anyone his dodger of his claw of the eagle. Yulin went behind the main character. She told him in a frightened voice that she did not want to cause trouble. Mu stood on the balcony. He told the fighters in the arena that they have a bad performance and they lack talent. Mu said that he himself taught the girl. He told the fighters that he did not want to fight against them. One of the guests from the side said that the guy is very arrogant. Two fighters in the arena are famous masters of martial arts. The old man in yellow clothes was sitting on an armchair. He asked his older brother, what did he think about the protagonist? The fighter said in a thoughtful voice that the guy is an outstanding young man. Its strength exceeds the strength of the master. The old man was surprised to ask his partner if the guy at a young age overcame the threshold. The elder was interested in how strong the master of the protagonist is. The elder said that the main character would easily defeat Xiao Hu. The fighter answered the old man that they would wait and see what's what. They have nowhere to hurry. The protagonist looked at the fighters in the arena and said that they would not be offended later because a young girl broke them. The man said in a vicious voice that he wants to see how strong the girl was really. Yulin scaredly asked the guy if she could really do it. Mu told the girl to do what she usually does in training. For her, this sparring will benefit. The girl pulled away from the railing and jumped down to the arena. She shouted to the guy that she would not deprive him of honor. After the jump, Julin landed on the ground. Opposite her stood two warriors. The man told his colleague to attack the first. He did not want to beat the beauty. The man looked at the girl with interest and said that she could be a good couple for her son. Yulin became in a combat pose. She told the man that she would do everything possible so as not to injure him. The man ran around the arena. He shouted to the girl to show him her abilities. The participants stood and very carefully watched how the fighter ran around her. The girl very quickly dodged to the side, and the man flew sharply past her. Julin, with all her might, hit the opponent's hand in the stomach. She shouted to him that his steps were unstable and he could not touch her. After a very powerful blow from the girl, a fighter bounced back to his colleague. The warrior turned. and told a friend that they should attack the girl together with him. She is close to the level of the master. The man swung his hand and ran forward. He shouted to a friend that they were much more experienced. Yulin ran away and sharply bounced back. She told the opponent that he could not even touch her if he continues. The girl put her hands in front of her. She sternly shouted to the opponent that she would turn him with the next movement. Men stood in a combat rack. The fighter shouted to a colleague that they needed to attack the girl from different sides. Yulin jumped high up and prepared to hit the opponents in the flight with her foot. The fighters were very surprised. They realized that their rival has a very high speed. Yulin jumped up very high and hit two rivals in flight. They flew away. The man lay and asked his friend if he wants to introduce the girl to his son. The fighter scaredly replied that Yulin could beat to the death of the guy. The girl told the fighters that she had a little overdore. The soldiers got up and told the partner that they were not injured. The fighter, in a joyful voice, told the girl that she had a great power, despite her young age. The guy on the balcony told a friend that the girl was only 18 years old. She is already at a high level. Very soon her name will be in the ranks of the Dragon Nation forces. The guest came up from the side. He told his partners that a grandmaster named Mu Chenfen appeared in Yuzhou. Master Lin came up from the side. He told the young fighters that he wants to be beaten with them. One of the guests said in a joyful voice that the senior student of the righteous sect would also fight. Mu, in a calm voice, told the fighters that he came here to congratulate the masters on his birthday and not to fight. The stranger pointed his finger at the protagonist and strictly demanded that he indicate respect for the master Linya. Lin said with a smile that he would be very pleased to exchange techniques with the youngest grandmaster from the Dragon Nation. The master calmly told the guy that he could tell him something, but he would be very happy to compete with him. Mu answered his partner with a displeased voice that the battles are not interested in him. The old man was sitting in a chair. He told a neighbor that Mu looks like a stubborn guy. The warrior answered the elder that he would push other fighters. The warrior went to the balcony and shouted to the guests that they came here to celebrate their younger brother's birthday. He is grateful to them for this. The old man promised the participants that he was ready to answer any question of the victorious warrior. Zhang jumped into the battle arena. He shouted that he would be the first to participate. The guy looked at the protagonist and asked if he would risk fighting him. Sun became in a combat rack. He said that he wants to challenge the youngest grandmaster in history. Sun looked at the balcony and thought that his mother would be happy if he received an instruction from the Taoist master of Xuanfen. The main character jumped into the combat arena. He did not understand why everyone looked at him. The main character said in a reasonable voice that he should now accept the invitation. To himself, the guy thought that Master Xuanfen should know the secret about Master Zhang and Dragon Vienna. Mu was encouraged to himself that he would get to the point. This will help him combine the Dragon Vein and return to the Kingdom of Immortality. The old man stood on the balcony and looked down at the arena. He thought that Sun could detain some masters with the help of his techniques. Lin thought to himself that he set up the protagonist, and all for the sake of the game console. Sun held a golden disc in his hands. He demanded from the opponent to return the Pearl of Immobilization to him and accept the defeat. Suddenly, magical golden warriors appeared around the guy. He threatened his opponent that he could give a full one. The main character sternly told the partner that the murderous equipment is very complicated. It feels like he will have to fight alone against 10,000. Around the opponent, the golden warriors jumped up. Sun shouted to the main character that he would beat him and take his own. The guy swung his hand and sent a forward golden fighters. They rushed along the arena. The main character was unexpectedly behind the fighter. He told him in a calm voice that if he took something, then this already belongs to him. Sun was very amazed. He turned around and scaredly asked Mu, when did he manage to be behind him? Mu sharply swung his hand and hit the fighter on his face with all his might. Several doctors with a stretcher ran out into the arena. They approached the warrior lying on the ground. The main character of the city turned around and asked who else wants to fight him. The elder said in a dissatisfied voice that Shun was very easy to give up because of one blow. The warrior carefully studied the protagonist and told the elder that Mu is in the first stage. The elder was surprised to remind the warrior that the guy could not be the first stage at a young age. The warrior said that Mu used divine power when he hit the opponent in the face. Such divine energy can only be controlled in the first stage. If the company attracted such a fighter, then they can fall on them to trouble in the next couple of days. The elder viciously told the warrior that they together defend the sect. He will not allow someone to dare to throw something. The elder thoughtfully said that Lincanus was experiencing difficulties. The fighter replied from his place that sometimes it was good to teach a warrior a lesson so that he would not continue to stick to Xiao Hu. Lin held a golden sword in front of him. He told the main character that the sect could provide him with weapons. The main character answered the opponent that he did not need anything, and he has his own weapon. Mu looked up at the balcony. He shouted to the girl to throw a sword for him. Yulin threw the blade into the guy's hands. He held out his hand and caught him. Lin looked at the blade of the protagonist and said that a sword made of wood was considered a spiritual weapon, amazed by lightning. But such a weapon reveals its true power only when its owner is in consolidation with key energy. The old man asked the guy if he uses all this. The main character held the sword in his hands. He told the warrior that he could try and find out everything. Lin abruptly broke with a place with a sword in his hand. He ran forward to the protagonist. The old man jumped up to attack the guy in flight with a sword. Mu prepared to fight back. The elder swung with all his strength with a sword and tried to hit the guy. Mu was dangling down in time. Lin explained to his opponent that this movement is called the Sword of Sunlight. The main character held the sword in front of him. He told the opponent that all this was very impressive. Lin waved his sword with all his strength and hit them on the ground. The main character dodged to the side. Mu swung his foot and hit her from the side of the warrior. Lin began to fall. The old man ran away and bounced to the side. Mu told the opponent that his movement was much more powerful than the previous ones. The main character told the old man that he could not with the help of these tricks achieve his defeat. Lin in a cunning voice told the guy that he can be called the youngest master in history. The old man raised his sword in front of him. He warned the guy that he would use new movements against him. Lin directed his sword forward and a bright twist appeared next to him. Mi shouted to the old man that he uses divine energy from the body and leads a sword. The main character squeezed his blade and the sword lit up. He shouted to the old man that he would be his opponent today. The main character with all his might swung a sword in front of him. Lin, after a blow, flew far aside. The elder jumped to her feet. He looked in front of him and could not think that someone could achieve such a level. The warrior said in a thoughtful voice that the guy reached the level of consolidation, and the result can appear only if there is divine energy in the veins. The old man turned and went aside. He told his younger brother that the time had come to meet with the new company's new intern. The righteous sect gathered near the mountain. The guy told the fighters that the tree affected by lightning will be delivered to the righteous sect in a couple of days. The success of their plans depends on whether they can capture this tree. The guy ordered the fighters to divide and even penetrated the sect before the mission. They could not disclose their real personalities. The fighters ran to the side. The guy asked his subordinates, "What about their preparation?" The partner said that the tree would arrive in a couple of days. The young boss demanded from his subordinate to establish things with Zhang Kai. They will receive half of the tree after their success. Shun sat in his house on the estate. He said in a displeased voice to himself that he had lost. A fighter in a frightened voice told himself that his opponent was cut down by only one slap in the face. Shun grabbed the phone in his hand. He told himself a dissatisfied voice that Mu made him turn to the elders. The main character stood in the arena with his girlfriend. Opposite them was an old man. The girl ran to the guy and wrapped his hand at the hand. Mu, in a cunning voice, warned her that everyone would stare around her. Yulin told the guy with a joyful voice that he defeated the eldest of the righteous sect. She admires them more and more. The old man told the guy that he feels even happy after losing. Mi slyly asked his partner, why did he insist on a fight against him? Lin looked carefully at the balcony. He explained that all this was his younger brother. He will make sure that the guy train more. The main character advised the old man to press his younger brother more. The fighter on the balcony realized that he would now not be able to achieve a girl due to the fact that his older brother lost to Mu Chenfenu. He decided to get off the mountain and hide until everything is over. The old man threw away the game console and jumped up to jump onto the balcony. He shouted to his brother that they would see how much he retained his skills. The younger brother of the frightened ran aside and shouted to the elder that he could explain everything. Yulin squatted on the ground. She picked up the game console and said that she wants to return it to the linen. The main character told a girlfriend that it would be best for them to give the game console Xiao Fan. The girl will have something to kill time. The main character walked along the corridor of the building with the girls. At the back, someone said that Mu stood out very much from the total number at the celebration of his birthday. The fighter thoughtfully said that Mu is very strong, despite the young age. In the future, he can become a divine master. One of the girls shouted loudly that she wants a child from the protagonist. Wu turned around and viciously shouted to the girl that she could only dream of a child in dreams. In the late evening, the main character was at home with his girlfriends. Mu stood near the window. Wu lay on the bed and played in the console. She said that her father sent a message. He will come next week. They need to prepare. The protagonist answered the girl with a dissatisfied voice that he did not want to meet her father. Wu turned around and told the guy that she could have closed his father. The main character will be forced to listen to his father. Mu raised his hands and told the girl that he was surrendering and everything will be the way she would say. Wu sat her friend on her knees. She asked if he would tell for his family about this girl. Wu whispered to her friend that he really liked Yulin. The guy listened carefully to this. The protagonist turned to the side displeasedly and told his girlfriend that there was nothing between him and Yulin. Wu answered the partner that she was a generous girl and therefore did not say anything about his relationship with Qi. The girlfriend strictly demanded that the guy think about it well. Mu turned to the side. He told the girl that they could leave this conversation for later. Wu turned around displeasedly and told the guy that if he convinces their fathers, he could get both of them. The girl hugged the guy and told him that she was now sure that she was in love with him. A girlfriend hugged a guy and said in a thoughtful voice that she really likes his strength. The main character laid his hand on the girl's head and said that she would not be worried. He promised to answer her, as it should. Wu jumped up to her feet and listened carefully to the conversation. She shouted displeasedly that she wanted to stay with a guy and would follow him everywhere and wants 100 children from him. Mu extended his hand to the girl's head and asked in a displeased voice, "Was she really a pig?" Suddenly, someone launched a knife and he flew straight into the house, where there was a guy with girls. The main character extended his fingers to the side and grabbed a flying blue blade. The girls next to him were very scared. Yulin shouted in a frightened voice that someone wanted to ambush Miss Wu while they were still in the righteous sect. The main character turned and said in a thoughtful voice to the side that Xiaopan is still an outsider. Perhaps the attackers came here because of him? The guy ran to the exit. He wanted to go out and look around. Mu ordered Yulin to guard Wu. The protagonist proceeded to the stranger's meadow. He shouted that he could not escape. Mi raced at full speed in the evening forest. He viciously shouted to the attackers that they were so stupid that they were preparing an attack on someone else's territory. Suddenly, a very dense and white fog appeared around the protagonist. He stopped. The protagonist looked in front of him in surprise and saw the already acquaintance of Shimanya. The main character in a dissatisfied voice told the guy that all this was already very bored for him. Sun shouted to the main character with an evil voice that for him all this was now personal. Jun pointed his finger at the protagonist. He angrily threatened that Mu stole his pearl immobilization and disgraced him in front of everyone. Now they will be fatal enemies. Mu was dissatisfied with his voice told the fighter that he had something with his head if he called him a deadly enemy. Jun angrily told the opponent that he could not communicate with the outside world with the help of secret techniques. He threatened the guy that his brothers would now achieve him. The protagonist swung his foot and with all his might on top hit her on the ground. Stones flew around. Jun stood calmly and looked in front of him. The stones flew and passed his body. The protagonist said to himself with a thoughtful voice that he was an interesting hallucinations technique. Mu thought and decided to himself that the formation can be very simple with physical strength. He decided to inform the sect so that they send for help for him. Shun began to launch huge stone blades against his opponent. The protagonist was evading very quickly. The fighter prepared to start the knife. He excitedly asked Sun, "How much more information will last?" Their opponent was strong. Jun held a stone blade in his hands. He shouted that the formation would last another half hour. He did not believe that the protagonist would be dodged from all attacks. The main character held out his hand and grabbed the phone. Magic blue knives continued to fly next to him. Mu on the phone asked the girl Yulin to go to Uncle Chen and reported that Shun caught him in the formation. He needed help. The main character leaned forward. He told the girl on the phone that all this could get out of control. Shun was very surprised. He asked the guy with interest how he could call. Mu joyfully told the fighter that mobile phones work much better than secret techniques. You just need to believe in science. Uncle Chen came up from the side and with all his might hit the guy with his hand over his face. He was unhappy due to the fact that he started a fight. A fighter of HU appeared on the side along with subordinates. He told the two guys to follow him as soon as possible. The fighter threatened his rivals that he would call their parents and say that they would come to you in their souls. Mu looked at the guy with surprise and smile and said that he had a bruise under his eye. Hu stepped aside. He said in displeasure to the main character that he did not want to talk to him. Chen came up and said with gratitude to the guy that he did not aggravate the situation. Otherwise, it would be difficult for him to tax because of this. Mu held out his hand to the man and said that he would not report to the company because of several children. Chen told the main character that the master and senior uncle would like to see him. Mu asked the man to take him to the master and the senior uncle. He would like to ask them something too. The main character in the late evening arrived in the mansion, where the elder and Xuanfen lived. Mu shook his hand to the old man and asked for forgiveness for being late. He explained that the children behaved not appropriately. The owner answered the guys that there was nothing wrong. He did not force them to wait. The main character shook his hand to the old man and said that his reputation was running forward to him. Xuan answered the guy that he himself was very young and gives a lot of hopes. Mu stood in the room with the elderly. He offered them to talk about business. Xuan extended his hand forward and invited the guy to discuss everything for tea. The elder sat on a wooden sofa and asked the guy when he was able to reach the level of consolidation of Qi energy. Mu asked the owner, "Why did the Divine Master Zhan destroy the spiritual arteries of this planet and brought the end of the stage of cultivation?" The guy told the elders that such respected people as they should know the reason. The elder explained to the guy that he could not answer this question to him. The whole thing concerns the future sect. The main character was sitting in a chair. He told the elderly that they were worried about the fact that their enemies are using this information. Mu assured his partners that all this would be an ordinary story and there would be no business before anyone before. Mu explained to his partners that he could not restore the spiritual arteries if he does not know how they were destroyed. The elder said with a smile to the guy that he had potential, but he should not overestimate himself. The old man in a strict voice told the guy that this was quite possible and reminded of Kunlun. The elder asked the protagonist displeasedly, why should he tell him all this? The main character went to the exit. He told the elderly that it is pointless for him to continue the conversation. Mu went out through the door to the street. Xuan told the old man that this guy could be the last hope for them. The elder thoughtfully said that they would see if the main character could achieve anything if he leaves the living with Kunlun. Xuan took the phone in his hands and said in an exciting voice that they needed to pick up the skins from the legends today. The event has just ended. The elder got angry. Lightning appeared around him and he angrily asked the warrior, why didn't he tell him about this before? The old people were angry in the house. There was a bright radiance around. The elder decided to use the dragon blow against his colleague. Xuan slyly answered the opponent that he should be frightened by the branches of the jade tree. The main character stood on the street. He told himself that all spiritual arteries expire from the Kunlun mountain. She is a source of everything. A trip to this mountain may be the first stage in the restoration of spiritual energy. The girl ran up the lawn to the main character. She told him a frightened voice that Miss Wu was looking for him. Mu went into the room and asked the girl, what happened? Wu lay on the bed with a game console in her hands. Wu turned around and told the guy that she was richer than him. She had a beautiful face and body. The girl could not understand why the main character was surrounded by women. Mu in a cunning voice told a girlfriend that if she wants to know the reason, she could come closer to him. Wu got to her feet and went to the guy. She said that it would be very late for him to atone for guilt. The main character extended his hand forward and hit the girl slightly on his forehead with his finger. The girl shouted displeasedly to a friend so that he would not do this again. Mu joyfully answered his girlfriend that he would do it easily again. Mi hit the girl with his finger on his forehead. She angrily asked him what he was doing. On the side stood a surprised Wu. Yulin laughed at the side. Wu wanted to hit the guy and viciously shouted that he would pay for it. Wok sat on the bed and told the main character to meet her father near the mountain. The man explained to the girl that her father could simply enter. Suddenly, some thought came to the head of the protagonist. He remembered something important. Wu took the guy's hand and prepared to leave. She said that Yulin was waiting for them here. The main character took a girlfriend in his arms and fled with her on logs over the cliff. Several fighters appeared in the forest. One of them was unhappy due to the fact that he saw Chen Fenya with the girl. The guy in the cloak shouted displeasedly that you need to get rid of the protagonist at the birthday of the sect leader. The young boss answered a friend that he would die if he fights with the guy now. The fighter said in a soothing voice that he was just a little angry. The subordinate went aside. He told the leader that he would have time to prepare. They will apply simultaneous attacks on the external and internal sides of the mountain. In the righteous sect will not even understand who attacked them. The young leader viciously told himself that the most powerful people of the Dragon Nation will be at the banquet. They have no way back. Inside the mountain in the room of the pursuers, the old man rested with a young warrior. Lin lay on the bed. He told himself that only after the battle with the main character did he realize that the child prodigy still exists. The old man said in a cunning voice for the warrior that if he had invested more strength in training, he would definitely reach a late stage. Hu lay on the bed. He told the old man in a displeased voice that he could just praise the guy and not to get him to put him up with a fool. Lin raised his hand in front of him. He told the guy not to waste precious time in vain. The old man got the feeling that something would happen on the banquet. Hu turned around and told the old man that the company could send a guy only as a representative. Lin got on the bed. He reminded the guy how the master of the White Lotus sect tried to get into their sect in the middle of the night a year ago. You remembered how the master and senior uncle dealt with the stranger. He stopped them and sent him to the company. 200 years ago, the White Lotus sect flourished. They deceived many and brought destruction to the world. The great master could not look at the suffering of the fighters. He left the mountains and independently led the Lotus to collapse. The master returned a lot of different weapons from the sect. It also inflicted a huge blow. This weapon can be activated by the technique of White Lotus power and released great power. Hu put his hand on the old man's shoulder and asked with interest, "What was the name of the spiritual weapon?" The guy turned around and said that the great master was definitely incredible. He could not believe that one person could defeat a White Lotus sect. The old man answered the guy that the elder uncle is the only one who knows where the weapon is stored. Hu could also recognize these secrets if he had stayed on the mountain for a couple of years. The main character, along with his girlfriend, came to the building late in the evening. The light glowed inside him. On the knees next to altar was a man named Wu Jiang. He held incense sticks in his hands. The guard near the entrance explained to the girl that the young master should go to the room first. Mu turned around and looked at his girlfriend. He told her to wait for him here. The girl in parting shouted loudly after the guy and wished good luck. Jiang was on his knees near the altar. He demanded that the guy come and honor with him. The main character looked at the statue of the Golden Master. He said in a thoughtful voice that the master did not need to be given honor. Jia turned around and told the main character that he had reached a lot and worthy of the girl Wu. But the man did not like that the guy is very young. The main character told the man that the young should continue to be young. Two servants took a large table and carried it to the center of the site. The man told the guy that he would like to know something from him. Jia viciously asked the guy, how did he plan to make the girl happy? The main character was sitting at the table. He explained to the man that Xiao Pan does not look like a girl who would rely on others. The servant went to the table and began to pour tea into cups. The man told the guy that he has a condition. The man invited the guy to drink tea. He told Mu that he could leave the company. Mu sat and held a cup in his hands. He told his partner that he has a personal reason to stay in the company. Also, the MU family requires protection. Jia held a cup in his hands. He told the guy that he could fire him from the company, as he owned stocks. The main character put the cup on the table. He told the man that he should know what power he possesses. Mu answered the man that he could fire him. But after that, the shareholders will not be able to sleep peacefully at night. At this time, the man extended his hand and took the phone in a cloak. He received a message. Jia was surprised to read and found out that the strength of the protagonist is above the first stage. The man strictly demanded from the guy to revise his relationship with Xiao Pan. The main character got up from his place. The man told him that he would work with his family if he leaves the girl. Otherwise, he threatened to do everything possible to destroy the MU group. Around the protagonist, a huge demonic skull with luminous eyes appeared. He told the man that no one could stop him in the Dragon Nation. On the go, the guy told Jiang that he did not want to be with a girl. She was just boring to him and they did not meet anywhere. After that, he said goodbye. The guards came up from the side, laid a hand on the guy's shoulder. He viciously told him that Mr. Wu did not allow him to leave. The guard sternly told the chief hero to obey the cultivator of the late stage. The main character sharply swung his foot and hit the fighter with all his might. The guard, after a very powerful blow from the guy, flew to the side and hit the wall. The protagonist angrily told the guard that he could already be dead if not for Mr. Wu. The guy went to the exit. He said in a dissatisfied voice that some kind of a late stage of the late stage decided to bark on him. A girlfriend ran to the guy and asked scaredly why he fought with the guard. The main character told the girl that her father demanded that he abandon her. Wu was very angry and said that she would go and talk to her father herself. Mu began to calm his girlfriend. He said that she would not get a man into this matter. Two old men inside the building stood and continued to fight each other. The elder viciously told his opponent that he could not defeat him. The beaten Zhuan shouted to the old man that he would have had a long time to cripple him if they had not belonged to the same sect. Suddenly, some noise was heard on the street. A whole group of mercenaries approached the building. Suen scaredly told the old man that uninvited guests are approaching them. The elder said that he would teach the fighters a lesson. Xuan thoughtfully told the old man that he continues to behave like an impulsive child. Although he is already 100 years old, the old man crouched and wanted to take a jug on the floor. He said that children need to be allowed to play and do not need to intervene. The elder thought he did not understand whether the mercenaries came here because of the righteous sect or because of the protagonist. Xuan drank liquid from the kettle. He told his colleague that the company would not pay the main character if he had not done anything. The elder answered the fighter that he was very worried about his sect. Xuan continued to drink liquid from the teapot. The elder scaredly shouted that the fighter could now destroy all the tea, which was stored for 100 years. He demanded that the older brother stop. The man got angry and hit the kettle on the ground with all his might. He scattered into the fragments. Two warriors sat on chairs and looked at each other displeased. Xuan asked the old man, why was he stared at him? The fighters stood on the street and looked at the house, around which there was a bright glow. The old people continued to fight inside. The young leader in a cunning voice said that the elder and Xuan were fighting at such a late hour. The fighter called the elderly frivolous. The leader explained to the subordinate that the old people had reached pure simplicity and truthfulness. The real fate of their arts is in each of their movement. The fighter thoughtfully said that he was moving like that, until he still felt a real fighting spirit. The leader quickly moved along the path. He shouted that the two fighters stay here and follow the old people in the house. The rest had to follow him and not attract attention. The man asked the guy if they would act on the situation if there was something unexpected. The guy stopped without turning around. He told the subordinate so that they would not show to his eyes if they are exposed. The leader turned around and angrily threatened the man so that he would be prepared for death otherwise if he was exposed. The man lit a cigarette and told the guy that they should prepare. Hu Li sat on a stool and all his attention was on the phone. Hu Li strictly looked at the man and warned that the leader would execute him if he was violating his orders. The man sat next to the guy and said that he has a master inside, and all this is easier. A fighter with a cigarette in his hands said that it was necessary to secretly stop the protagonist so that he would not violate their plans. If the plan succeeds, then Hu will be in good account with the leader. The man sat down to the guy asked, was he really scared? Hu jumped up and hit his chair with all his might. He shouted that if he was afraid, that would not have arranged an ambush on the guy. Around the guy, a fiery radiance appeared. He said in a dissatisfied voice that the guy became the young master of Hu, only because of the wrong judgments of the third lady. Hu stepped aside. He shouted to the man that when Tianlin would take control of everything, he is a ban on Mu in the mountains. Hu stopped near the tree. He saw how the main character with a girlfriend was walking in a clearing. The guy folded his hands and a bright fire appeared next to him. He said in an evil voice that the master Tianlin could come and capture this body. A huge demonic beast appeared. He burned brightly with fire and told the man that he had to bother him in the middle of the night on an important matter. A small demonic child appeared on top of the guy. He said in an evil voice that he needed help. He ran into a rival that he cannot win. His eyes lit up on the guy's face. He had demonic ears. Who saw the protagonist in front of him with the girl. Around Mu was a bright blue radiance. The fighter asked a demonic child displeasedly, "Does he really want to get him here?" The burning boy said that the master of Hu would not fight against the opponent to face his face, but simply detained him in the mountains for a while. The guy demanded an evil voice for a demonic child for the service of 10 fried chickens, 10 packs of cigarettes and a bottle of liqueur. A burning boy answered the fighter that he would move all these things to his altar. The guy breathed out of himself a huge pillar of fire. The yellow boy next to him thought that the fighter could warm him up with this method. The main character walked next to his girlfriend. The girl told him that her father is always trying to impose obsolete glances to her. Mu answered his girlfriend that a man in any case tries to for her good. The girl turned and excitedly asked the guy, why did he stop? The main character with a strict voice explained to his partner that they walk in the forest in circles. Mu explained to his partner that they walk through the forest for an hour and still have not reached the goal. The girl ran up and grabbed the guy's hand. She scared him, scared that they were being persecuted. The guy hit the girl on the head and said that in the righteous sect no ghost would dare to pursue them. The main character said in a thoughtful voice that he was catching the trace of a spiritual being. Wu shouted in a frightened voice to the guy that she was very scared. She was afraid that they could be killed. The main character was holding in his hands in the phone. He realized that someone wanted to detain them on the outside. The spell was weak and he could cope himself. Wu scaredly grabbed the guy by the hand and said that they needed to contact Uncle Chen and the rest. The main character heard a message from the phone that the card was activated. It was necessary to indicate the destination. Wu walked along with a friend along the forest road. She told the guy that he did not take off the spell, but just opened GPS. The protagonist held the phone in his hands. He told the girl that it is always useful to rely on technology. The phone showed the guy a detailed route. The main character told a girlfriend that she, as a girl, should be more conservative. Wu hugged the guy and shouted that she refused. She wanted to be with him forever, no matter what. The main character walked in the forest and held the girl in her arms. He looked carefully at the phone. Mu carefully looked at the phone and said that it was all like the technique of illusion. The girl looked aside and noticed how some stranger ran to the side to the clearing. Wu pointed her finger to the side and demanded that the main character catch a stranger and take him to the company. Mu told the girl that she is very aggressive. An unfamiliar fighter could not last long in the sect of the righteous. They just had to observe. The burning boy on the go offered the running master Hu to think about another path. The fighter escaped at full speed. He shouted that he had already been noticed and he needed to hide immediately. The burning demonic fox shouted to the guy that he would leave first. A person should not forget that he has caused him a lot of inconvenience today. The guy ran through the forest at full speed. If it were not for his spell with which he deceived the guards, then he would not have run away so simply. Sun scaredly fled through the forest. He decided to hide. When his mother arrives, he will be at home arrest for at least 6 months. The running guy stopped and noticed a stranger in front of him in a night clearing. Sun asked the fighter with a displeased voice, "Who is he, and where is he going?" The guy pointed his hand forward and said that his name is Hu Li, and he belongs to the White Lotus clan. Sun was surprised to tell his partner that no one would have thought that he would decide to join the White Lotus sect. The fighter thought to himself that he needed to hide and he himself would agree to go to the sect. Hu said with suspicion to the guy that he himself was in trouble and is now saving. Jun angrily squeezed his fist. He said that he would like to kill the protagonist now if he had a chance. Hu went up to the guy and said that the White Lotus also has scores with the main character. They now have one goal. Jun held out his hand to his new acquaintance and said that they could join forces. They needed to develop a plan against Mu. 2 fighters sat on stone and smoked. Hu told his partner that he needed the main character of Dead. Now they are in sowing the righteous, and therefore it will be very difficult to even touch the Mu with a finger. Jun told his partner that they would definitely cope with the environment of the protagonist. A fighter with a cigarette thoughtfully explained that they could not touch Miss Wu. But the other girl is only halfway in the formation of a master. The guy invited his friend to take the protagonist from the sect and grab the girl. They may try to exceed it with a number. The main character in the late evening approached the building and led the girl by the hand. Mu asked his girlfriend to see who would arrive here as guests. Wu offered her friend more efficiently attract the company. The main character approached the door. He said that if he often runs to the boss, he would not receive a promotion. Wu promised a friend that she would look when she returned. Yulin was delighted when she saw that the guy and the girl had returned. She asked her friend if Mr. Wu detained him. The protagonist told his girlfriend that they were in trouble on the way back. Mu headed for the door. He told the girls that they need to rest. Girlfriends lay on the bed. Wu looked at the girl and asked if she liked this guy. Yulin said in a thoughtful voice that she was just serving a friend. Wu said in a cunning girlfriend that she was still trying to pretend to be quiet. Wu looked at the ceiling and said that not all girls could linger near the main character. The girlfriend turned around and said that Yulin kept her feelings a secret until she ceases to like the main character. Yulin was very worried. She did not know what to say to the girl with a broken voice. Suddenly, a blue blade flew into the room. Yulin shouted to her girlfriend to be more careful. Yulin sharply wrapped around the girl and fell to the floor with her to protect herself from weapons. A girlfriend told the girl in a frightened voice to go to the master. She decided to win a little more time. Wu warned the girl about the ambush. Jun stood on the street and watched 2 girls jump out of the house on the road. Yulin turned around and scaredly told her girlfriend to leave. She prepared to fight against the attackers. The fighter looked angrily at the girls and activated the formation against them. A bright pink pentagram appeared on the ground. Jun shouted to the girls that even if he falls, he would drag them behind him. Wu ran to the side. She shouted to her friend to protect herself first of all. Yulin grabbed a big brick in her hands. She told the fighter that he was moving away from the right path. The girl thought to herself that she could not destroy the information. Therefore, he will fight against the warrior herself. Shun in an evil voice told the girl that only his mother could reason him. The girl with a brick in her hand rushed forward against the opponent. The pentagram shone from below. Yulin swung to launch a brick. She shouted to the guy that she would get rid of him now. The girl launched a brick with all her might, and he at full speed hit the fighter in the head. The wounded guy angrily told the girl that even his parents would not dare to hit him. Yulin swung and with all her might hit the guy's foot on the head. She threatened him that she would teach him a lesson today. Soon after the blow frozen to the ground, the girl viciously said that those who make mistakes should be punished. Hu appeared on the side. The guy shouted to the girl that she was very careless. He exhaled a magical powder on it. Julin, due to the action of the magic drug, fell on the ground unconscious. A magic beast appeared on the side. He demanded from a person to double his offering, soon came up and looked at the lying girl. He angrily called her Malashka. Hu grabbed an unconscious girl in his arms. He shouted to his companion that they needed to leave now.